Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Back at you with a new video. Today is Thursday, October 9th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ORIONNWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Giants. Thursday night football here on Amazon Prime. Kickoff is going to be here in roughly 5 minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get settled in for some Thursday night football. Best quarterbacks in the game, Jalen Hurts. And on the right, the up-and-coming stud rookie for the New York Football Giants, Jackson Dart. Definitely excited to be able to see how this will go down. We know the Giants are very heavy underdogs, but a lot of these primetime games that we've done have surprised. We definitely have a heavy favorite in Philadelphia, but remember, they are on the road, if that means anything. And again, we would assume watching the matchup, or at least on paper, you would assume that the Eagles are going to end up winning by 14 or more. And they could possibly end up winning by 20 or more. But hopefully, Jackson Dart will have a little bit of flash and a little bit of magic. Same thing with Scataboo. Now, they're not going to be able to have Malik Neighbors, their up-and-coming stud wide receiver, obviously down with the ACL tear, which is a little unfortunate because that trio is definitely going to be exciting for the New York Football Giants for years to come. Dart at quarterback, Scataboo at running back, and Malik, obviously, there at wide receiver. So we'll see kind of how it all goes down, but hopefully, it ends up being somewhat a competitive matchup. But I love me some Malik Neighbors, and just very sad that, he ended up going down. We obviously know we got the Phillies going at it with the Dodgers 1-0 road. Very odd, Dodgers winning 2 games in Philly, and now Philadelphia on the brink, if they can hang on, winning possibly 2 in LA. And I'm not sure if anyone would have anticipated that. That's why the playoffs are so exciting. And then coming up in about an hour, we're going to start it off with the Brewers and the Cubs. And obviously we know the Brewers are up 2-1 in that particular series, trying to close it out. Congratulations to the Blue Jays for closing out the Yankees yesterday. They're in the ALCS, and the Mariners play tomorrow. And luckily, since the Blue Jays ended the Yankees, we play late at 5 o'clock. And I think that's going to be a much better time for the Mariners to play on Friday night. Everyone's going to be able to show up, kids from school, parents at work, no matter if you got obligations, early afternoon, you might have been in trouble if the Yankees would have won last night. But since the Blue Jays ended the series, made it to the ALCS, only 1 game tomorrow, prime time, everyone's going to be watching. T-Mobile is going to be a rockin', and I can't wait to be able to see, how our players are going to respond. I definitely think it will be close, but I think we can pull it off and get the dub, and then we'll move on and play the Blue Jays, and more than likely we're going to get the Brewers and the Dodgers in the NLCS, unless Philadelphia has something to say about that, either winning today and possibly in Game 5 back in Philly, if they're able to hang on to this 1-0 lead in Los Angeles. Bricks in the building, what's good? Marine Bean in the building, what's good? Let's go, baby. Looking forward to this matchup. And again, out of all the primetime matchups that we have done for Sunday night, Monday night, and Thursday night, we've only had 1 blowout out of all the games that we've done up to this point. So, that's pretty good, with all things considered, because sometimes on paper, like the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys, everyone assumed, that the Green Bay Packers were going to blow out Dallas. But remember, anytime you have a really good team that goes on the road, there's going to be, sometimes a little bit of speed bumps and hiccups. And again, now if this game was in Philadelphia, more than likely it would be a rout. But just the simple fact that it's in New York, there's a very small percentage, I get it, but there is a small chance that maybe New York, ends up pulling off the upset if they can, play some great defense, get a pick six, fumble for a touchdown, and Jackson Dart plays the game of his life, and then Jalen Hurts maybe fumbles once, loses it, maybe throws a pick, something like that. Well, now will that happen? We don't know. More than likely, probably not. But again, we can hope that we can have a competitive matchup here today, and hopefully the Eagles don't win by 30 or more. And I would love to be able to see, Dart and Scataboo have that 1-2 punch. Now, if Neighbors was there, it would definitely give them a little bit more. But again, you do have some guys injured on the opposite side as well, like Jalen Carter, not playing, inactive with the heel. So again, with certain pieces out, Howell, Carter, McWilliams, Gibson, and Landon Dickerson on the offensive line. Let's see, take a quick peek here to see if that's going to hold up. Yeah, it looks like it is holding up. So Dickerson on the O-line is out, and Jalen Carter is out, obviously with the heel. So that's one piece on the D-line, one piece on the O-line. So that could help a little bit for New York. And obviously, Johnson Jr., Jameis is not going to play. Darius Slayton has got a hamstring, so that's one weapon that's out. And then obviously Evan Neal was a coach's decision. So we will see. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the Dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it. Greg in the building. What's good? First down and 10. Hands off to Saquon. Wow, look at the vision by Saquon Barkley, and he is not messing around. First carry, beautiful jump cut, dodges the first two guys that are near him, and then ends up exploding, at full speed. And you don't really see a lot of guys that can end up, hitting the hole and hitting multiple cuts and going back and forth without really losing any top-tier speed. First down, Philly, move the chains. Fly, Eagles, fly. Shotgun set. And they go back to Saquon again. Great blocking up front. And another first down. First down, Eagles. Move the chains. I mean, if it's going to be like this, based on those first two carries, Saquon's going to run for 2 to 250 today. Wow. An 18-yard run and a 13-yard run. First down and 10 at the Giant 29. Handoff again. Why not, right? And then this time we finally get the Giant defense to wake up on that D-line. And we got a short gain there. And we know A.J. Brown is upset that he's only been in the end zone once. But again, this team has won 20 out of the last 22. 14-2 record last season in the regular season games for Jalen Hurts. And again, we know when this team is clicking on all cylinders, they're as good as anybody in the NFL. Obviously, we know Buffalo is pretty good in the AFC, but a lot of people feel, even though, Philly knows the battles it's going to have as Jalen Hurts gets caught up and tackled there by Phillips and company. Short game, third down, but still, we have a very good chance of Philadelphia getting back to the NFC Championship game, getting back to the Super Bowl, and they definitely have a chance to go back-to-back. And there's not very many teams that we could actually say that about within the last 5 to 15 years. And, Philadelphia is primed, for a deep run. It feels like almost every single year within the last few years. Third down and 10 after that loss of 2. Phillips with the tackle on Jalen Hurts. Shotgun set, pressure coming off the blitz, a little check down, and a nice gang tackle by 3 Giants there. And Dallas Goedert not able to pick up the first down. And that's kind of what I was hoping to see, that the Giant defense would, may give up some chunk plays to Saquon. They may give up some, tight end plays to Goedert, as well as the wide receiving crew, with A.J. Brown and company. But can they tighten up enough to make this game kind of competitive and to be able to hold the Eagles to a field goal after giving up an 18-yard run and a 13-yard run by Saquon? Good job there. Fourth down and 5. 42-yard attempt here for Philly. Kick is up and is good. 3-0 Philadelphia. And that's got to be a win, for the Giant defense. Now you just got to hope that Jackson Dart, can end up showing a little bit of flair, like possibly, a few weeks back rather than maybe last week against the Saints. Got to play better. Let's go, baby. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. We only need 28 to get to 22,700. And then we obviously will be doing ALDS game number 5 between the Tigers and Mariners tomorrow. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Appreciate you. Samuel in the building. What's good? Jake Elliott with that 42-yard field goal is good. And again, I don't know how long the Giants are going to be able to kind of somewhat keep it close, but hopefully the offense can put together a few quality drives. The defense can get maybe a little lucky with a turnover or two. And hopefully this game is within 10 points a good majority of the way. But again, that's a big ask and a big if. And we're in the bottom of the 7th. Philly up 1-0 on the Los Angeles Dodgers. And they have runners at first and second. So we will see kind of how this plays out. And for the Dodgers here, kind of surprised they're sitting at a 0 at home. And again, you just never know how the playoffs are gonna play out. And then obviously we know the Blue Jays advanced yesterday against the Yankees, the first team to be eliminated. And then we will get the Brewers and the Cubs going at it in about 30 to 40 minutes. And I'll have updates on that as well. Yeah, I mean, all my teams this is the first time, Bricks, that all my teams are like really, really good for the first time in like 25 years. Buccaneers are, an NFC Super Bowl contender. The Oregon Ducks are natty contenders. And the Mariners are, World Series contenders. And again, it's the first time that I've been able to say that in a long, long time. And again, Blazers played their first preseason game last night. Watch that. They dropped it to the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry, but they didn't really play all of, the guys that they normally would in a starting lineup. They were kind of experimenting, with different guys. And, we'll see kind of how that goes. And I know the Kraken end up playing their first game against the Ducks, I believe at 7 p.m. So I'll be tuning into that as well. So, and nice return here for the Giants, the 30, the 35, the 40, the 45. Beautiful return on special teams by the New York Football Giants. Let's go. All right, Jackson Dart, 39 for 60, 313 yards, 3 tutties, 2 picks, 2 fumbles. He's been sacked 6 times. We know the offensive line has issues. You have no Malik Neighbors, which is unfortunate. But again, we'll see kind of how it plays out. First play for Dart, hands off. And Scataboo, definitely excited to see what he can do. He's got a little dog in him as well. Dart and Scataboo are a great rookie pairing. And again, if we could just have had Malik Neighbors not get hurt and we would have that trio, it would definitely give them a better chance to have that big play, as well as Darius Slayton being out as well. But we'll see if they can come up with anything, between the tight ends and the wide receivers here today. Shotgun set on 2nd down and 7. And almost intercepted. What happened to my hands? Hunt was right there. Pass incomplete. 3rd down and 7 at the New York Giants 49. Man, fumbled the bag, but there's a reason why certain guys, play linebacker, not tight end. It's because they typically can't catch. And again, a little bit more athleticism there. It was right there in the breadbasket. Should have had the pick, and now we have a flag on the play. What do we got here? False start. Number 89 with the false start. That's going to bring him back 5 yards. Cody in the building. What's good? Hubatas in the building. What's good? You got to be better, Humphreys. 3rd down and 12 at the New York Football Giant 44. Get the first down, baby. Dart, plenty of time. Going long, going deep. He's got a man. Oh, baby. First down, Giants. That's what I'm talking about. That's an Odell Beckham Jr., a Malik Neighbors type of catch, and I like that. Let's go. First down, New York. Move the chains. Wow. And again, we're going to need plays like that for this game to be fun, right? We know if the Giants don't make big plays with Scataboo, Dart with his legs and his arm, as well as the wide receivers and the tight end stepping up, this is going to be a long, long game. Big play there from Humphrey after the false start. Hand off up the middle. And Scataboo with the short game. But I do like Scataboo's swagger and energy. I liked him in college. Dart has got that same type of swagger. And again, when you have that confidence, from your young trio, even though Neighbors had the ACL and he's not able to play the rest of the year, it definitely is going to be a fun and up and coming 1, 2, 3 with Dart, Scataboo, and Neighbors for the future. Play action fake, bootleg, avoids a sack lunch, avoids another, keeping eyes downfield, and just throws it out of reach. Incomplete. Dart is exciting out there, and again, they probably should have started Dart at the beginning of the year. But again, when you're a coach, it's always easy to, just go with the vet, Russell Wilson or like a Jameis Winston, wait a month, or less, wait for them to fuck up and go 1-3 or 2-2 or 0-4, and then throw in the rookie. But makes you kind of wonder, if they went with Dart instead of Russell Wilson early, would they have been able to scrape out maybe one more win? It's definitely possible. 3rd down and 7, 3rd down and 8 here on the Philly 19. Shotgun set. Trips right, steps up in the pocket. Run. Yes. What a juke. Go. Touchdown, Jackson Dart. Let's go. Boom. Let's go. And I'm telling y'all, Jackson Dart, single-handedly with his legs can make this a fun game to watch. Wow. And again, it's not like you're going to see Jameis Winston do that. You're not going to see Russell Wilson do that. You aren't going to see even previously Eli Manning do that. This guy is special. And again, it's cool to be able to have Scataboo and Dart be rookies together. But again, keeping his eyes downfield and having the awareness to be able to hit you with some wide receiver jukes. He has a little wide receiver in him. And again, beautiful touchdown and a breakdown by Philly. Extra point is up towards the crossbar and just good. Here we go. And again, another game that I thought would be a little closer considering the Giants are at home, not on the road. If the game is in Philly, it more likely, could turn into a nasty blowout. But since Philly is the better team, but on the road, you got to feel that the New York fans will have a little bit of impact on the game, even though their team is only 1-4, 1-1 at home. But beautiful start. Your defense does a good enough job to hold Jalen Hurts and Philly to a field goal after back-to-back carries of 18 and 13 by Saquon. And then all of a sudden, Jackson Dart making it happen. Beautiful start for the New York Football Giants. Let's go. That's exactly what I wanted to see, baby. Yeah, Russ is on the bench unless Dart gets hurt. And then Jameis obviously is not playing today. And then at some point, if something happens to Russ, then obviously Jameis will be second straight. But at this point, not playing, today, he's like, emergency back, emergency quarterback at this point. So. And it looks like the Dodgers just caught up. We're in the top of the 8th, and we're now knotted up at 1. Nice job by LA. And let me take a quick peek. So Castellanos doubled the left. Kepler scored in the top of the 7th. And in the bottom of the 7th, Betts walked. Dean scored. Ohtani to 2nd. Kike to 3rd. And that's very interesting. 4 hits for Philadelphia Phillies, 5 for the Dodgers. Both have an error. And wow. And again, that one's going to go down to the wire. And please keep me updated on that as well. Yeah, I absolutely think it's going to be a battle and a war tomorrow. But considering we're going to be at home, not on the road, I like our chances of winning tomorrow and playing the Blue Jays in the ALCS. And again, it could be as low scoring as 3-2, or we could explode and scoring 5 to 10 runs tomorrow, which I hope, and we get the job done. But regardless if it's going to be low scoring, 3-2, 2-1 type of victory, or if we end up scoring 5 and we win like 5-2 or 5-3 or more, however we do it, as long as we win, that's all that matters, to keep the season alive. So that way we can get more than likely the Dodgers and the Brewers and the NLCS, unless Philadelphia can win today and in Game 5. And then obviously, we want Blue Jays and Mariners. And it kind of feels like Dodgers, Brewers, and then Blue Jays and Mariners are the 4 best teams left. But Philadelphia has something to say about that. All right, here we go. Let's see what kind of return we get from Philadelphia. And again, no Landon Dickerson on the O-line for Philly, which will be a factor, and also no Jalen Carter. So again, we know Jalen Carter, likes to stuff up the middle like Vita Vea for the Bucks. And again, when you don't have your Warren Sapp of the lineup, in the game, Philly isn't the same. They're still an amazing defense, don't get me wrong. But when they have Jalen Carter in there with Landon Dickerson, it takes them to another level. And so if the Giants can exploit that, obviously like Dart did on that drive, it could end up leading to, I don't want to say an upset for sure, but maybe a more competitive matchup here. And it is an upset early, 7-3 New York Football Giants. First down and 10 at the Philly 29. Man in motion, Devontae Smith. Shotgun set to Hurts. 4-man rush. And a little quick pass to the outside. And that's Dallas Goedert with the short grab. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats for the best beats on YouTube. Appreciate you, my boy. If I had to take a guess, we're going to go Scooball and we're going to go Kirby tomorrow. But if, Kirby ends up struggling, they may take him out and we might see starters come in like Luis Castillo. I don't know if we'll see Logan Gilbert, but it wouldn't shock me. I don't think Wu is ready, but I think that they'll go Kirby. And then depending on what happens with him, the other guys will be available if needed. I'm not sure if they would go to that strategy from like Kirby to Castillo, but again, if there were a game to do it with the season on the line, it's tomorrow. And hopefully Kirby goes, pitches well, and we don't need to worry about Castillo playing at all, and we can save him for the Blue Jays. Loss of 3 there by Saquon Barkley, Nunez, Roches, and Davidson with the tackle. Third down and 8 at the Philly 31. Shotgun set. 4-man rush. Blitz. Oh, baby. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a New York Football Giant sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Let's go. Brian Burns, Spida Burns, formerly of the Carolina Panthers. And again, one-on-one. Oh, baby. And again, everything that I was hoping for by calling this game over doing possibly the Dodgers and the Phillies or the Brewers and Cubs is happening. I was thinking that the defense would be a little bit better in New York, and I thought the offense in Dart would be a little bit better than expected. People looking at the game on paper, oh, another terrible game on Thursday Night Football, but not me. I thought it could be a little bit better than expected, and so far it is. Giants force the Eagles to punt. Good return off the juke, dancing down the sideline. And let's see if Dart can do it again. And if they can get out to a 14-3 lead, not to say that Philly can't come back. They definitely can. They got to be the Super Bowl favorite in the NFC, or one of the, I think the Eagles, the Lions, the Buccaneers. I feel like those are like the top tier. And then you got some of the other teams, that are on the cusp. Right? You got the Niners, you got the Rams, you got the Seahawks, you got the Packers, possibly the Commanders if Jaden Daniels can get healthy. And then who knows, maybe the Atlanta Falcons if they can turn their season around with Michael Penix Jr., as far as like playoff teams potentially, but we will see where it goes. But if Philly can hit a wall with New York, that would be great. And these guys are divisional rivals, which always counts for something. Sometimes records go out the window when you play a divisional foe, even if you're playing the worst team in the division, right? Sometimes the worst team still can beat the best team. And a short run there by Scataboo. Yeah, they had him warming up in Seattle earlier this afternoon. So I'm not sure if he'll be ready for, game one, but hopefully he'll be ready sometime in the ALCS. Play action fake. Dart. Wow. First down, Giants. Robinson with the beautiful catch. I'm telling you, Jackson Dart is special. Like when you watch him, the offensive line for the Giants isn't good. So you're going to have to be able to make plays, with your legs, and you're going to have to be mentally smart. You're going to have to be very gritty and to be able to keep your eyes down the field in that soft zone and to be able to throw that ball right there in the breadbasket. It was a little bit behind, Wan'Dale Robinson there, but he was able to adjust and make the catch. Great job by Dart and Robinson. Handoff and a good Eagle gang tackle there. Zach Bond with the tackle. Yeah, and obviously the Eagles losing, to the Broncos, and the Bucks almost beat them, before that. So, again, if I would have not given up a blocked punt for a touchdown on my first possession in Tampa, I think we would have beat them. And, we did beat Philly 5 out of the last 6. We are their kryptonite, but again, we only put up 6 points at halftime, and we were down like 20, but we did come back, but we ended up losing by 6-7 points and just not good enough late to get it done. Dart, scrambling, gambling, keeping his eyes downfield, broken tackle, down the sideline, touchdown, Giants! Let's go! Let's go! Jackson Dart, bang! Not for one tutty, for 2, Wan'Dale Robinson, and here we go. The New York Football Giants making me look smart. And again, I had a great feeling that the Giants were going to show out on prime time. Yeah, they're 1-4, going against a 4-1 team. But again, Dart, this is his first time to be able to kind of showcase his talent in front of the globe on a big scale. And is he making his time worthwhile on prime time? You bet your ass he is. Already got a touchdown on the ground with his legs and one through the air. He looks awesome. Extra point is up. And wide right. He almost missed the first one. So you kind of had a feeling at some point, that he was going to miss one there. And they may need to be looking for another kicker in the near future. But again, he almost missed the extra point the first time around and misses wide right on the second. And that's a damn shame, especially after how good Dart and the team have been doing here early on. Fantastic start, baby. Let's go. 13-3 Giants. And again, if the Saints were smart, they should have drafted Dart. But again, sometimes it's a blessing, for guys to fall somewhere else. And again, we know the Giants have a long ways to go. Offensive line, not very good. Skill position players could be a little bit better, but they do have Malik Neighbors. So obviously that is a start with Scataboo now at running back and now Dart at quarterback. So you're starting to kind of get the skill position players built up, but you still need O-line and you still need a hell of a lot more defense. But with that being said, 13-3 early on. I like what I'm seeing here. Nice job by Jackson Dart. And again, I was a fan of his in college. And again, a lot of times when you see a guy in college, you just don't really know if it's going to translate to the NFL until they get out there and they play. And they either can handle the pressure or they don't. Or it takes them a couple years, or it takes them until they get to their second or third team to kind of figure it out. But Dart here early, giving confidence in those New York fans. And this is the most exciting quarterback that they've had in a long, long time. Awesome. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the Dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. We need 27 subs to hit 22,700. I see you, Jackson. Reflect in the building. What's good? And end of the 8th inning, 1-1, Phillies and Dodgers. And obviously, it's a must-win game for Philly to be able to bring the series back to Philadelphia for Game 5. And obviously, if you're the Dodgers, you don't want to play around. You want to get the job done now. And it's kind of crazy that the Dodgers won 2 in Philly. Philly's on the brink of winning 2 in LA. And then we'll see what happens when they go back. But, for those teams being so good at home, it's weird to see those powerhouses lose at home potentially and only win on the road. And obviously, congratulations to the Toronto Blue Jays for ending, the New York Yankees season. So that way we can play late at 5 instead of playing at 1. Much better time for everyone to watch us win tomorrow. And a short return there. And let's see if the Giants can come up with another big play. And we'll do updates for the Brewers and Cubs. That starts in 20-30 minutes. And please give updates if I'm calling this game, if something crazy happens with the Phillies and Dodgers. Great catch by Wan'Dale Robinson. Great effort to be able to break the tackle. Great yak yards after the play. And Jackson Dart is a star. And again, I like Scataboo a lot. It just kind of stinks that Malik Neighbors wasn't able to showcase his talent here on Thursday Night Football also with the ACL. But he will be back, and hopefully that'll be something special to watch in that trio in the future. It's one of the best young trios that we got in the NFL for a team that we normally don't give a crap about in the Giants. But I'll tell you what, I'll be going out of my way and watching New York from time to time just to watch that trio in the future. But for now, it's a dynamic duo with Scataboo and Dart, and I love both. They're both dogs. They both have the swagger they did in college. They were both amazing players, and I'm glad it's translating to a team that doesn't really have a whole lot of talent around them, and they're being able to kind of carry the load, both of those guys. Great job. 2nd down and 10 after that pass was incomplete to A.J. Brown, who's crying that he only has 1 touchdown so far. Throw deep. And A.J. Brown in double coverage decides to get that one. 1st down, Eagles. And they had a little private meeting. And, sometimes you'll have player meeting, type of situations. And we know wide receivers are divas. And again, they usually care more about their individual statistics rather than team wins. They want to be able to get paid. They want to look good. They want the ball. And again, as long as the team is winning, you would think that would be enough. But for a quote unquote superstar receiver, sometimes the frustration blows over and you end up having to have those team meetings or player to player meetings to, try to figure out maybe, hey, can I get the ball a little bit more? 6-yard run there by Saquon Barkley. Debo and others in there with the tackle. 2nd down and 4 at the Giant 39. Shotgun set. Hurts, plenty of protection, wide open in that zone. 1st down, Eagles fly, Eagles fly. Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert in double coverage. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, move the chains. Floater off the play action fake. Yeah, I mean, those situations are a little bit different. I mean, with Johnny Football, he didn't really care about football. It was more about partying, And again, when you don't have love for the game and you're not willing to put in the time, we kind of knew that he wasn't going to pan out in the NFL. And, and obviously Kurt Warner with a K, because the Kurt Warner with a C is a running back for the Hawks. So the Kurt Warner you're talking about with the K, bad groceries, and then ended up having to go many lengths to many teams and found his way on the perfect team at the right time with the greatest show on turf with Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, and others. Hurts, pass over the middle, 1st down, Eagles. And nice catch there by Devontae Smith. You can definitely tell Hurts is not playing around now. 1st down and goal, and they're on the brink of scoring here with Saquon or one of the receivers or tight ends momentarily. Nice 8-yard pass from Hurts to Smith. First down and goal at the Giants 4. You assume they'll hand it off to Saquon here, or you could end up running an RPO with Hurts and just having him run it in himself. Hand off to Saquon, spin move, and a nice tackle there. And remember, no Landon Dickerson on the O-line for the Eagles and no Jalen Carter. So this one should be a little bit closer, based on those individuals missing the game due to injuries. Raheem Nunez-Roches with the tackle. Second and goal at the Giants 3. Shotgun set. And a little flip. And a little trickery. Touchdown, Eagles. And they definitely got confused with that, a couple of those guys in motion, and they had a little bit of misdirection on where they were going to possibly go with the football. And then they go with the Andy Reid, kind of underhand flip. And again, sometimes when you end up moving guys, pre-snap, guys do get confused. And, even if it was just momentarily, and the nice underhand throw from Hurts, a nice two-handed catch by Goddard, good blocking up front, and he ends up wiggling his way into the end zone. Extra point is up, and this one is right down the middle and good by Jake Elliott. And we have ourselves a fun ball game here, baby. 13-10, New York Football Giants. Daniel in the building, what's good? Air Raid in the building, what's good? Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes. 100 on the dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. We need 27 to hit 22,700. 149 left here on Amazon Prime. 13-10 Giants. Great game starting off here. And again, I haven't got a chance to do a primetime game of Dart and Scataboo, so I was kind of excited, to see how they would play. Assume that they would play well, and they have so far. And we're in the mid-ninth, Phillies and Dodgers, and the Dodgers are going to have Dean, Kike Hernandez, and Pajes up, and hopefully the Dodgers can find a way to get a big home run or RBI, and they can advance. And then we'll wait on the Brew Crew to see if they can do the same to the Cubs in Chicago. And then we'll have Dodgers and Brewers in the NLCS. And hopefully after we win tomorrow against Scooball and the Tigers at home at T-Mobile, we'll face the Blue Jays this weekend. And definitely excited to be able to see all my teams being contenders. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are Super Bowl contenders. The Mariners are World Series contenders. And the Oregon Ducks are Natty contenders. It's the first time that all three have been this good in like 25 years. And I'm definitely excited to see how the Blazers do, as well as the Seattle Kraken. Those two teams are not on the same level as the other three, but I'm still excited to be able to see what the Blazers and Kraken do. Blazers played their first preseason game yesterday, lost to the Warriors and Steph Curry, but I liked what I saw overall. And then the Kraken end up making their season debut tonight in about an hour and 12 minutes against the Anaheim Ducks. Release the Kraken. Go Kraken. Let's go. I'm doing good, Air Raid. How are you? I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we knew how good Emeka Egbuka was in college, but let's be honest. No Buccaneer fan and no NFL fan, knew that he would be a top 5 wide receiver, top 10 receiver immediately. He has a chance of not only winning rookie over the year over guys that are, very good, like Tyler Warren, tight end for the Colts. But again, he's not only playing like the best rookie, but he's playing like one of the best in the NFL. He's got like that Jamar Chase, kind of dog factor in him. And with Mike Evans not being available with the hammy, we just got Godwin back. And obviously no Jalen McMillan, and we got Tez Johnson. So we got some Ducks and we got some Huskies sprinkled in with some Buckeyes as well. But again, it feels that Emeka, easily can be the wide receiver one after Mike Evans retires, possibly after this year. And we know Godwin will be out the door, and Jalen McMillan can take that spot if needed. And obviously, we're going to miss Evans and Godwin, but if I can get them all on the field together, Evans, Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, Tez Johnson and Jalen McMillan, that's a pretty amazing, 5 wide receiver set, if you ask me, on top of another Husky and Cade Otton that I love as well. So nice to be able to see the team being competitive. And a 61-yard kick there by Jake Elliott with a 19-yard gain down to the Giant 23. First down and 10 for the New York Football Giants. Yeah, Giants are playing awesome. And again, I had a feeling anytime you get a really good team that plays a team that's bad, but they're on the road, you get a similar type of possible outcome like the Packers playing Dallas in Dallas. Everyone thought, oh, Green Bay's going to blow them out by 20. Not so fast. Dak showed that, hey, I can play at home pretty damn well. Dart avoiding the sack lunch. And ball comes out late after kind of that late hit. But the play whistle dead. And Dart is going to have to scramble for his life pretty often. But again, he will want to throw first, run second. But he's a great runner, for his size. And that looked like a late hit there by Philly, but what's new? We're used to them doing things like that. Landing on a guy after the play's pretty much already over. But at least Jalen Carter isn't there to injure him or do something dirty. We definitely got the Ndamukong Suh type of guy, and we know Jalen Carter is a great player, but sometimes loses his cool. Third down and 10, Dart, great pass, and a little slant there, but short of the first down marker. And that's going to bring the first quarter to an end, and the Giants will be forced to punt. We're in the Meadowlands, baby. End of the first quarter, 13-10 Giants. Bottom of the ninth, 1-1, Phillies and Dodgers, nobody on. And Kike Hernandez is in the box with a 1-2 count. Come on, Kike. There's not too many guys that end up, increasing their batting average over 100 points, from the regular season to the postseason. Kike is one of those guys, and hopefully he'll be able to come up with a little bit of postseason magic. Great game so far. 13-10 Giants after the first quarter. And if you need a quick recap, if you're just coming in, Eagles started off, very, very strong. Saquon Barkley, 18-yard gain, first down. Saquon Barkley, second play of the game, 13-yard gain, back-to-back first downs for 31 yards total. And, the Giant defense finally came up with a good play. Held them to a field goal, which was nice. Jake Elliott, 42 yards, 3-0 Philly. And then the Giants, Jackson Dart, decides to use his legs as he got a few first downs under his belt with Scataboo and company. And Dart with a 20-yard rush, 7-3 New York. And then obviously New York got the ball back after another stop. Wan'Dale Robinson with a 35-yard pass from Dart. Great yak yards after. The PAT failed, which is unfortunate, 13-3. And then Philly started to stop fucking around, and Dallas got a 3-yard pass from Jalen Hurts on an underhand throw, very similar to Mahomes to Kelsey that Kansas City runs with Andy Reid, and now we're sitting at a 13-10 Giant lead after the first quarter. Love it. And again, we've only had one blowout and one bad game out of all the games that we've done on the NFL on the channel this year. Thursday night usually ends up having the worst matchups compared to Sunday night and Monday night. But luckily for us fans, we have no undefeated teams, and that's good. Normally we'll, go to week 8, week 9, week 10, and there's someone, at least one team or two, that's 8-0, 9-0, or 10-0. So to not have any undefeated teams in 2025 by week 5 is amazing. That means that we are going to be going to war, and we're going to be going to battles, with teams that Eagles, first place team going against a last place team, 4-1 versus 1-4. But after watching that first quarter, you wouldn't think that the Giants are 1-4. And awesome to be able to see rookies like Dart and Scataboo do their thing. Oh, nah, tough. Yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to do fantasy ever again. Honestly, like I feel so much better not doing it. Not spending all that time and energy, hours on the wire, hours spying on everyone's team, hours on, looking at matchups in the future. And, obviously I know I can finish in the top 3 pretty much every year for the most part, but the time and effort and strain, and I take it serious. And, obviously that's my fault for being so serious with it, but again, you have to have kind of a serious attitude if you want to win. If you kind of half-ass fantasy, you're never going to win a championship, let alone make the playoffs normally. I don't know. I just feel like, so refreshed, for taking a year off for the first time in like 15, 20 years that I may never do it again. I feel so much better just focusing just on my Buccaneer players and the Bucks, and that's it. Now, I may end up being commissioner and running something on the channel one day, but I don't think I'm going to do it ever again. And Abdul Carter and company getting Jalen Hurts there on 1st down and 10 at the Philly 26. Wu is, obviously one of our best, but if he's hurt, we don't really know, how good he can be. You throw Wu out there in the ALCS versus the Blue Jays if we beat the Tigers, and if he's not right and gives up 5 runs in the first inning and we lose, that's not good. So again, we have to be very cautious. And if Wu says he's not ready, we're not going to put him out there. The last thing we want to do is, bring him out too early and then he re-aggravates an injury even worse. And then if we were able to make the World Series, and then maybe he wouldn't even be available, and that would really, make the chances of us winning it all that much harder. But, we just got to take it day by day. He's been practicing, they're at T-Mobile this afternoon, throwing the ball around with teammates, but, it doesn't look like he's going to be ready, in the next few days. And I assume if we were to beat the Tigers, he wouldn't start game 1. He would probably be starting like game 2 or game 3 if we were to start him at that point, later in the series, unless he ends up having a breakthrough with that injury. 3rd down and 7, shotgun set. Giants bringing 4 off the edge, wide open on that crossing route. 1st down, Eagles. And Devontae Smith with the great hands and the great yak yards. Move the chains. 1st down, Eagles. Yeah, I like fantasy. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I mean, I did it for like 15, 20 years straight. More years than not, I would be in the final 3 and, in the championship game, whether I win or lose. But, the effort that you have to put to be competitive and, you not only have to be intelligent, but you have to put in the work. And, again, it's a lot of time, that it takes to be, consistently great at fantasy. It's not something that you can just half-ass and just, make championship wins. I mean, unless you're just playing, 9 other people in a 10-man league that don't know what they're doing, and then you can look like a genius if no one knows how to play. But most people like to play against people that actually know how to play. And if you play against smart people, you're not going to win a championship every year. Plain and simple. Injuries will have something to do with that. Hurts on 1st down and 10, bounces it to the outside, keeps his eyes downfield. And Jahan Dotson, 1st down, Eagles. And then for me, obviously Blazers and Ducks in Oregon, Buccaneers, the NFL team, that I have the most connection with, even though I live in the Pacific Northwest. And then obviously Mariners and Kraken, for baseball and hockey. So those would be my 5 teams there. So Mariners and Kraken in Washington, Blazers and Ducks in Oregon, since I live in Oregon, and then the Tampa Bay Bucks are my favorite team. And now the Eagles are starting to kind of lock in here, Saquon Barkley. And again, the crossing routes and the little slant routes have been working. The middle part of the field has been open. And we'll see if Brian Burns, Spider Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau and company can end up making it a little bit harder for Jalen Hurts here, but they're starting to get into a rhythm now. Hurts. First down, Eagles. If the pec was torn, they would have already talked about it in the media. It would have already been a done deal. They would have already, if it's completely torn and he can't play at all, they would have already made that public. Now, if it's partially torn or something of that nature, that could be possible, where he may need some type of, minor surgery or some type of, medical work after the year is over, but if it was completely torn and off, then I think that we would have already known about that. So, like, if there was 0% chance that he would play the rest of the year, we would have known already. I don't think they would just keep that secret. Shotgun set. First down and 10. Throw to the sideline. A.J. Brown is there. Nice pass from Hurts to A.J. Brown, being a little bit more active since he started to complain that he wasn't getting the ball enough in this 4-1 start for Philly. Hurts bouncing it to the outside, little bootleg, keeping his eyes downfield, and great defense there by the Giants secondary, batting that away. Third down and 1. And again, when it's second down and 1, you just hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley. Nice tackle attempt there and breakaway from Holland. Tush push incoming on third down and 1. And the Giants have a pretty... And whistle finally blows there, and we'll see where the ball is placed. I think it's going to be 4th down and 1 or 4th down and inches. 13-10 Giants with 9:08 left in the second quarter. Fun one, and I had a feeling it would be. And we're in the bottom of the 10th. Otani, Betts, and Teoscar Hernandez is up, and hopefully the Dodgers will advance here in a couple minutes. And 4th and inches, and what timeout is called? 30-second timeout is called. First timeout there for the Giants. NFL rank for Jalen Hurts. Rushes on first down. First. No surprise there. 4th and inches here. Tush push coming again. And he's got it. First down, Eagles. Yeah, looks like the guards are moving early on the tush push for Philly to get the advantage there. There's just so many people cramped in there, hard to see, but first and goal, tush push again. Kind of a cheap play. Again, not everyone can run it. You have to have a good offensive line, athletic quarterback, and someone strong, at running back or tight end behind you to give you that last push in the back, to get over. But I don't know. It's kind of a cheap play, to continuously use it over. Like, it's one thing if you use it like one time in a drive and then you end up getting a first down or a touchdown, but to do it like over and over and over, that's a little excessive, I don't know. Again, I mean, if you're a Philly fan, you love it. But if you're not a Philly fan and you're one of the other teams in the league, it's like, I mean, when is enough? You're going to run it 5 times in a row, like touchdown Eagles. I mean, there's only, how many defensive lines that are good enough to stop, a tush push. Only a couple, that are good enough to stop, typically a pretty good offensive line most of the time for, Philadelphia, even though Landon Dickerson is out. And obviously you can definitely tell that the guards are jumping a little early, but, I don't mind it if it's once in a while, but I do have an issue with it when it's like 5 times in a row. That should be something that, I mean, you're not going to be able to outlaw it unless you just outlaw the play altogether. But I think doing it 5 times in a row on the goal line is a little excessive. I mean, it takes away, a little bit of the fun from the game, Like, they should have limits with that where, if you're going to run a play like that, you can't run it, 5 times in a row. But again, I mean, the only way that we're going to be able to, make any adjustments is if they just outlaw the play altogether. Bottom of the 10th with 1 out. Luzardo on the mound for the Phillies. Betts in the box with a 1-2 count. 1-1 in the bottom of the 10th. And hopefully the Dodgers can win it here and they'll move on to the NLCS. Otherwise, if Philadelphia wins, it'll go to Game 5 back in Philly. And the Dodgers won 2 games in Philadelphia, Game 1 and Game 2. Philadelphia is trying to win 2 games on the road in LA. Games 3 and obviously currently right now Game 4. And we got the Brewers and the Cubs going at it, obviously, here momentarily. And they just started in the top of the first. And Chicago won yesterday. And it's 2-1 Milwaukee. So we'll see if Milwaukee has enough to get it done here later this evening. And a nice touchdown there by Jalen Hurts. And unfortunately, Davidson on the Giants was injured. And they're going to take a look at him. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it. Davidson has to go to the medical tent. That's what happens when you run the tush push, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row. Eventually, someone's going to get hurt on that O-line or that D-line or both. Extra point is up and good. 17-13 Philly. 3-yard run there by Scataboo. Young with the tackle, 2nd down and 7. Third down and 6 at the Giants 37. Shotgun set, pressure off the edge, dart towards the sideline, caught. First down, Giants. Move the chains. Little fake toss there by Dart, and diving towards that first down marker. Sarah in the building, how are you? Nice run there by Scataboo. First down, Giants. Shotgun set, little screen pass. Wandale Robinson with the catch for the short gain. 17-13 Philly. Looks like we're at the top of the 11th with the Phillies and Dodgers going at it. Philadelphia playing for their season and the Dodgers trying to move on to the NLCS. 2nd down and 9 at the Philly 38. Shotgun set, dart. And nice catch there. Theo Johnson with the catch. Hubertus, I apologize. I didn't mean to end up giving you a timeout or having you get booted from the stream. You know, the bots are relentless, and right when I was trying to make an adjustment, it ended up clicking on you rather than someone else. So I tried to go back in there and, fix that situation there. And again, we don't really have that problem too much, on the MLB side. The MLB bots are kind of new. You'll see them here and there, but they're pretty rare. But when I usually do NFL and college football, they're relentless. Sometimes we'll get 50 to 100 in a 3-hour and 30-minute stream. So I'm glad that I was able to reverse that. And again, I didn't mean to, boot you or even get you in a timeout. But again, I had to click on a few buttons to see if I could retrieve you. And I was hoping that based on what I clicked, that you would be able to come back and type something in the chat. And here you are. So I'm glad that you are back, my guy. That was on accident. And we're down to the 2-minute warning. 2nd down and 4 at the Philly 22. Yeah, and again, I'm glad that you're doing good in fantasy, Sarah. You're doing great with the Colts. Jags look pretty good this year too, which is great for the AFC South, since a lot of times that's one of the weaker divisions in football. But looking like you're going to have 2 playoff teams this year, which is awesome. I love seeing teams that normally are in the middle or at the bottom climb to the top, which is always great. And again, I'm having such a great time not focusing on players that are hurt and spending hours on the waiver wire and doing all that. Like I was telling Reflect and others in the stream, I may not do fantasy ever again. I mean, I did it for, 15, 20 years straight. And, this was my first year that I haven't done it. And it's almost like taking a year-long vacation. Like I haven't felt this, stress over my shoulders, week in and week out. And also I got more shit on the table, with the Mariners this year and obviously with the Ducks and NFL. And, we're definitely kind of breaking out this year on the channel also. So, will I do it in the future? I don't know. I might not do it ever again. Now I might end up doing, a particular, fantasy football on the channel where I'm like the commish or something, but I don't participate. That could be possible, but I don't think I'm going to do it ever again. I mean, again, the way that I feel this year where I can just focus on the Bucks and the Bucks only, I haven't been able to do that in a long time, and it's really refreshing. So Mike in the building, what's good? Blue in the building, what's good? Yeah, sorry about that, man. And again, when you see how these bots come up, so sometimes when I click on one, link, there's like 10. And then if someone types something, sometimes it'll end up, going to that next person on accident. And, we haven't had that happen too often, but I was like praying, oh God, I was like, how do I get him back? And then I decided to click on you, and then it gave me like 6 options. And so one of them was like a timeout for like a minute. So I thought, okay, if I do that, maybe he'll be able to come back and it won't be like forever, and, obviously after a minute you type something and you're back. So I'm glad you're back. Sarah with a $5. Appreciate you. Stacks. Racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. $5 holla, 95 to go on the Dono train. Appreciate you. Happy for you with Tyler Warren and Daniel Jones and, everything that's going on with you and the Colts. Very exciting. Second down and 4. Dart. Looking, run. Dart, run. And look at him dance. Wow. Look at him dance. Unbelievable. And again, Dart is one of those guys that is so slippery out there that he could initially went for a 10-yard gain, was still looking, downfield to be a good teammate, a good quarterback, and then the pocket breaks down. He almost gets sacked by 2 different guys, is able to slip that and then go to the opposite side of the field with a juke, and then using his speed to be able to get positive yards. This guy is going to be really fun to watch. And again, the Giants record may not be the greatest year in and year out. Yeah, they're going to have injuries. Hopefully Malik Neighbors is healthy after, this year's ACL tear. But with Neighbors, Scataboo, and Dart, I don't know if there's going to be a more exciting trio, that's young, that's in the league, that's on a team that is not very good overall. But at some point, the Giants more than likely will be able to make, maybe a wild, wild push at some point or another, where they might be able to get in, to the playoffs, not winning the division, but maybe being one of those other teams that, just gets enough, maybe 10 wins down the road and, they go 10-7 a couple years from now. Pretty cool. Reflect with a $5. Appreciate you. Stacks. Racks with the little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Another 5 on the Dono train. 90 to go to hit the goal. Appreciate you. I mean, I love Dart and Scataboo in college, but again, when you go to a team like New York, you just don't really know, are they going to pan out because the offensive line is so bad for the most part, and then the defense has a lot of holes as well. Now, Brian Burns and Thibodeau, they have a couple dogs on the other side, but this is nowhere near being, a complete, team. We have to assume at this point, the Cowboys have more depth. The Commanders have more depth, and the Eagles are the top dog in the NFC East. But one day, hopefully the Giants will be able to pass the Cowboys and the Commanders, and one day maybe it'll be Philly in first, and the Giants in a couple years, maybe they can get to a point where they're in second, and they can go with like 10 wins and make the playoffs. They may not be able to win a game, but it'll be big for New York fans, with that trio, Neighbors, Scataboo, and Dart, which I love all three. 17-13 Eagles after they had a early 13-3 lead, and you knew that it was going to be a battle. Just nice to be able to see the Giants hanging in there, at home. Now, if this game was in Philly, maybe the score is 17-0. But the fact that, you get a really good team going against a bad team, but they're on the road, like the Packers when they played the Cowboys, sometimes that's the X factor, not playing in your own stadium and being able to feel the energy of the crowd. And New York's crowd, it will always, be a little intense from time to time. 3rd down and 1. Yeah, Savannah Bananas came through to Seattle when Seattle was on their little playoff run when they were on the road. And sometimes you'll get like former players, that will come in there and showcase their talents. Dart with the little sneak himself. They don't need a tush push on their end. 1st down, Giants. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, who participated. I read the article. I'm not sure if it was like James Paxton and, I know that, John Olerud, has been kind of around the area. He was at a game recently, promoting, I think, some things about like dog rescue or something of that nature. But you never know, whenever you get a Savannah Banana type of team, obviously they're going to be looking for guys like Jamie Moyer, and guys that have played, but are, obviously a little older. But I'm pretty sure there was a couple guys, someone could look into the article or look online. But I'm not sure if it was Jamie Moyer and, and I don't know if it was the Big Maple as well. And we know the Big Maple has been around. He was at one of the games recently too. So just nice to be able to see some of the former Mariner players, come through, regardless if it's for the Savannah Bananas or just to, come support the Mariners, which is awesome. First and goal. Dart, play action fake, keeping his eyes downfield. Floater, wide open. Oh, he dropped it. Damn. What happened to my hands? We're still 1-1 between the Phillies and the Dodgers. Freddie Freeman in the box. 2nd and goal. Man in motion on the Philly 4. Handoff. Touchdown. Scataboo. Scataboo is a dog, man. For like a short running back, he's got a lot of intensity, And again, Dart and Scataboo are a match made in heaven. Both guys that have swagger, both guys that have aura, both guys that are going to go to war for each other, and they're both rookies. What a great relationship to be able to have a guy that is like you, that plays a different position, and even if the team ends up having a kind of a shitty record, at least you got guys that you can buy jerseys of. You got guys that you can get excited about, knowing that eventually when the O-line and the defense and the coaching get better and they end up getting a better skill position players surrounding Neighbors, Dart, and Scataboo, maybe they can get to 10 wins in maybe 2 to 3 years. Love me some Scataboo as well. He is a dog. And just like that, 19-17, New York. I love it. Should be 20, but they ended up missing that extra point earlier in the game. Yeah, Jays are tough, but again, if anyone can match up to the Jays, it's the Mariners. I mean, we played them in 2022 and we beat them. So, I feel like there's not many teams that match up with the Blue Jays, but I think the Mariners are the best team to match up with them. Extra point is up and good, 2017 Giants. But again, that if we can beat, Skubal again and we can advance, I like our chances. I think that we have a very good chance if we're able to win tomorrow that we could beat the Blue Jays. Now, could the Blue Jays beat the Mariners? Of course, but I think that we're kind of a team of destiny. And, I wouldn't be shocked one bit, if the Mariners ended up making the World Series this year. Now, winning the World Series is a whole nother ball game. Obviously we know the Brewers and the Dodgers, which we'll probably end up getting, have been playing better as of late. So again, if we end up playing against, those two teams or one of those two teams, there's no guarantee that even if Seattle were to overcome and beat the Blue Jays, that we would be able to win the World Series and win it all. But you never know. I mean, we got as good of a chance as any of the teams that are left. It just really depends on, can we win against Detroit tomorrow? Can we beat the Blue Jays? And if we get to the big dance, who's to say it's not our year? Obviously, you would have to start off strong and probably have to win game one against the Dodgers, Phillies, or Brewers to have any chance of winning that World Series. But realistically, the National League team looks pretty fucking strong, regardless if it's the Brewers or the Dodgers or the Phillies. It would be, I would assume most people would probably be picking, the National League team to win in 5 or 6 games. That they would only assume the Blue Jays or Mariners would only win 1 or 2 at the most. But, who's to say that's true? Well, maybe the American League can win it all this year. I mean, we're not going to know until we actually play. So Cubs trying to force game 5 up 3-0. How did they get the 3? Did they get a 3-run blast? I got Will Smith in the box. Bottom of the 11th, 1-1 with 1 out. And juggled return here by Philadelphia, and great special teams by New York. Beautiful. What a good game here. And again, we've only had one game that was like a blowout out of all the games that we've done for the NFL this year. And, Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, usually Thursday night, it's got the, maybe the worst matchups, but good game here today. I like Spider Burns. I like Kayvon Thibodeau. They got some dogs over there. Game starts, around 5 o'clock. So I'll be live, probably, 10 minutes before first pitch. So I can go over, starting lineups and everything else. So. First down and 10 at the Philly 7. After that 4-yard return, handoff, and Saquon finding a hole. First down, Eagles. And now they're going to run the 2-minute drill as you see Saquon run very quickly to try to be able to get them into a field goal range here, or possibly a touchdown with about 50 seconds to go. But they're going to have to go very quick in this 2-minute drill. Shotgun set, Hurts looking, and a little check down off that little hitch. And Brown is there. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get a touchdown, but they might be able to get into field goal range for Jake Elliott for a 50 to 60-yard attempt to tie it up 20 at half. Second down and 1, but they're going to have to hurry. Already down to 30 seconds. Second down and 1. Good protection. Throw to the sideline. Caught out of bounds. A.J. Brown. Great job recognizing you need to stop the clock. 25 seconds to go. First down, Eagles. And Jake Elliott is on the tee on the sideline warming up. I appreciate that, Mike. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I might end up even going live even slightly earlier. I mean, I've already made a thumbnail, but I might make a different one and whatnot. So. First down and 10. Giants. bringing 4, pocket collapsing, and a nice catch, and out of bounds by Dallas Goedert, but then he gets poked away at the last second, incomplete. Good defense there by New York. We were checking to see how they got to 3-0. How did the Cubs get to 3? Was it a home run or an RBI? I'll be able to check here in a second after we get to halftime here, but shotgun set, Hurts, pressure off the edge, bootleg, rolling to his right, floater, down the sideline, incomplete. Second down and 10 at the Philadelphia 43. And that turns into third down and 10. And it looks like it's 1-1. Phillies and Dodgers, bottom of the 11th with 2 outs. Runners at first and third for Kike. Come on, Kike. Ian Happ. Uh-oh. We know how Happ and what he does typically to your Cardinals. Go figure it would be him, huh? 3-run jack by Happ, really. And, Seiya Suzuki has been playing amazing. Good for him, to be able to show that he can, showcase, the MLB as being a foreign-born Asian player. And, he is awesome. New York takes a timeout. And we got, 15 seconds to go. Third down and 10 at the Philly 43. Enough time to run a play or two to try to get into field goal range by Elliott, who can kick 50 to 60, preferably, closer to the 50 rather than the 60, but he's got a strong leg. I remember you telling me that, how many times that, the game has been close and he's been able to come up with a big home run or RBI to eliminate the Cardinals, at the end of the game. So third down and 10 here for Jalen Hurts. Shotgun set, trips left. Man in motion. Hurts, pressure off the edge with Thibodeau. Hurts decides to run and sliding short of the first down marker. And you better hurry. No time. The clock is just going to run out. And that's it. And that's halftime. That was a terrible decision by Jalen Hurts to run the football in the middle of the field. Why the hell would you do that? I mean, Jalen is too smart for that. You're a Super Bowl champion. When you have that little amount of time, and regardless if you have timeouts or not, again, not very smart there. And again, normally Jalen is incredibly talented and incredibly intelligent and smart, but that was one of the first bonehead plays I think I've seen Jalen make this year. And now we have halftime, and halftime will be quick, 12 minutes. And then we can kind of peek in with the Dodgers and the Phillies, as well as the Cubs and the Brewers. I gotta be able to see what's going on here with the matchup between the Phillies and Dodgers since we're at halftime, so I can at least kind of tune in what's on tap here. Nice. Hopefully that works out for you. And we'll see if Kike Hernandez can end up making a big play here late. Runners at first and third, and, you know, Kike is one of those guys that can definitely step up. Yeah, and usually that's a reason why guys get let go. You know, guys get let go because of talking too much and being negative. So, you know, if you end up, you know, being too negative, you know, with the coaches and the teammates, that's the reason why he got let go. But again, maybe a change of scenery will do him some good. But I did read that as well, you know. And again, I have seen some video of him, you know, talking to officials, coaches, teammates, you know, that wasn't really, you know, appropriate, so to speak. So, you know, it's just like CJ Gardner-Johnson, you know, getting let go too. You know, sometimes guys can have talent, you know, but again, if you got a bad attitude, you know, and it rubs off as being a negative person in the locker room, sometimes it's just better to cut your ties, you know, and let them go somewhere else, you know, so that way it doesn't cause, you know, any type of problems in that locker room moving forward. We got a 1-1 tie here. Runners at first and third. Kike Hernandez in the box. Now Orion Kerkering on the mound for the Phillies. And halftime will be over here shortly. Giants are going to receive the second half kickoff, up 20-17. And I'm really happy that the Giants decided to come to play at home. I mean, obviously I could have done this Phillies-Dodger game or the Cubs-Brewers instead, but I wanted to make sure that I, you know, still do football, you know, even though we've done a lot of baseball during baseball season. And I imagine the Mariners are going to be very good every year moving forward. And Kike to first. And now we got bases loaded. Pressure is on Orion Kerkering for the Phillies. They got the whole team out there trying to figure out, you know, how to be able to win this game. I mean, bases loaded with 2 outs, season on the line, Kerkering on the mound, Pages in the box. First pitch from Kerkering to Pages inside. Takes a strike swinging, 0-1 count. Bottom of the 11th, 1-1, Phillies and Dodgers with bases loaded. And all they need to do is get some kind of RBI and they'll be good to go. And there we go. The Dodgers just won 2-1. Wow. Kim scored on a fielding error by Kerkering. Pages safe at first, and the Dodgers win. And the Dodgers are going to the NLCS, which we kind of felt that was going to happen anyways. Heartbreaking loss, but when you end up having bases loaded, you know, with 2 outs, at some point, you know, something's got to give. And now the Dodgers are celebrating at home. And again, you know, we already thought that they were going to end up winning anyways, especially when they ended up winning the first 2 games in Philadelphia. Philadelphia needed to win both, or at least one, to have a chance. And again, they just didn't get enough. The Dodgers were the better team, and they played very good at the end of the season, sweeping the Mariners and, you know, keeping that momentum going. And congratulations to my dad and the Dodgers. They go to the NLCS. They join the Blue Jays, who beat the Yankees last night, to go to the ALCS. So we have 2 pieces of the puzzle left. tomorrow, hopefully the Mariners will be the third piece that will be added on, beating the Tigers and Skubal. And we also have a chance for the Brewers to, punch their ticket if they can come back and beat the Cubs here later this evening. And that one right now is 3-0 Chicago in the bottom of the second. But if it goes back to Game 5 in Milwaukee, chances are Milwaukee will find a way to win, just like the Mariners are going to find a way to win at home if that were to be the case. But I wouldn't call the game over yet with Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a very talented team, and they could definitely come back from 3 runs. But congratulations to the Dodgers there. Kim scored on a fielding error by Kerkering. Pa is safe at first by that fielding error, and that is game over. Congratulations, Dodgers. And we're already halfway through halftime. That was quick. And we only got 5 minutes to go, and we're right back into the game. And I like that halftime for NFL is relatively short. It's not 20, 30 minutes and whatnot. So. And shout out to my boy, Brooks Beats, the best beats on YouTube. And again, always liking to be able to support, my friends that have dreams and goals. And, again, super talented guy, up and coming, producer here in the Pacific Northwest. And I will be working with him moving forward for, the rest of my life. So, he's got a client in me. And again, hopefully, with his hard work and continuing to grind, he'll be able to find, his music, whether it be with a hip hop artist or an R&B artist, a commercial, background music for, individuals on YouTube, movies, whatever it may be. A very, very smart and intelligent guy that has dreams and goals. And it's just awesome to be able to, help someone that's got a dream and goal, but also being able to help myself by giving you guys some amazing background music and all of the music, that he's been able to create within the last few months. I went through the latest catalog with him, and there was about maybe 42 tracks that he's made within the last few months. And then I picked out my favorite 15 that I figured that would work the best, sound wise here. I got some kind of slower, smooth sounding, stuff for like the commercial breaks and like halftime, and then some more upbeat, stuff when the games are actually in play. And an amazing guy, and hopefully we'll be able to meet up and grab, some lunch at some point. We were trying to meet up last Friday for the first time in many, many months, but he had a beat competition that he was preparing for on Saturday. So I told him, skip the meeting, work on some beats, and, go win that competition and whatnot. And, and obviously link up. And, anytime that you're in that type of business as an artist or a beat maker, it's networking is really the hardest thing. And, him being able to meet up with other producers and whatnot, being able to network is huge for him. And he's seen the success that we've had, with me and this channel here. And again, I'm just really happy to be able to help, one of my friends, and also, him helping us, by also, giving the show another level, with just not the thumbnails and not just my commentary, not just the HD and 4K photos, but then also adding on some amazing background music throughout the whole stream. And I appreciate him very much. And again, everything that he makes, we used to make beats together on a phone. That's how long that we've been, kind of doing this type of thing. And, he'd have a little beat program on his phone, and we'd be tapping the buttons on a little small phone, an iPhone or like a Samsung. And then after years and years and years and saving up money, getting multiple computers, multiple beat pads, multiple equipment, pieces. And that stuff is not cheap. It definitely costs a lot of money. And then also on top of that, you have to buy like these beat packs that give you different sounds and sound effects and whatnot. So you have to have money, but you also have to have talent. And again, years back, I think that he kind of doubted himself. And I always have been his number one supporter. And I told him, look what I'm doing. I built something from nothing to something. You can do the same. And again, a very talented guy. And, we already kind of went through, in the last, 3-4 months since the beginning of the Mariners season, the same, kind of 8 to 10, beats that were good, but I wanted to kind of showcase, some of the newer stuff. And again, I got access to that. And again, he will have a client in me, moving forward. And again, if I have to be, his first client to kind of get him off the ground while he's networking with some of these other up and coming producers to get his foot in the door, I've told him I believe in him 100%. Now you got to believe in you. And again, extremely talented person. And we're 1 minute away from halftime ending. Giants 20, Eagles 17. And the best part, when I hear his music, it's him, like when I hear the beats, and I've been, in that world with him, like I can instantly tell if it's something that he made or if it's someone else. And again, what makes him so special is that he stays true to himself. He doesn't try to be someone else. He is him. And again, it's like I can tell he puts, his heart and soul in everything that he does, every sound effect, every drum, every bass line, everything that he does. And I think that's really what makes it so special for me, being able to see someone in my friend group actually have dreams and goals like myself and act on them. And if I can be that driving force to, push him to that next spot, I'm definitely going to do that. All right, we're about to get here 30 seconds in to halftime. The Giants are going to receive the second half kick. And here we go. It's one of those games that we started off great. And obviously we didn't get the job done. Obviously, taking, Bryce Miller out too early. Spire and Bizzardo did not pitch well, which they normally do. And they got hot at the right time. So you got to give the Tigers credit. They did a great job. And, Dan Wilson, this is his first year managing. Sometimes he substitutes players at the wrong time, like pulling Dom out and, bringing in guys like Garver and Rayleigh, or, pulling a pitcher too soon or too late. But again, overall, he's done a pretty good job. It could be better, but again, he's never managed before. And again, hopefully it won't have to come down to Dan Wilson tomorrow. And I do feel confident that we can win the game and advance to the Blue Jays in the ALCS tomorrow. Screen pass to Scataboo. Short gain there. Yeah. And obviously, if you're a Dodger fan, the expectation is championship or bust, kind of like Tom Brady, wherever he was at New England or Tampa. So when you end up, having championship aspirations of being a top dog, if you don't win the championship, it's a failure. And again, a kind of a crazy mentality to have. But again, if you want to be great, you have to have that mentality. It also helps that they have money and they have 3 first ballot Hall of Famers in Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, on top of great players like Teoscar Hernandez and a great pitching staff. But we already know how great the Dodgers have been over the years. And, we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get a Mariner-Dodger World Series. I know my dad would love that. 4-yard run there by Scataboo. Davis and Hunt with the tackle. 3rd down and 2 at the Giant 37. Shotgun set. Eagles bring blitz off the edge. Floater. Post route. And dropped incomplete. Unfortunately, wasn't able to hang on to that football. What happened to my hands? And for the Giants to have the upset today against Philly, they need to make key 3rd down, plays to keep moving the chains. You don't want drives to stall. Dart and Scataboo are going to be able to get you, in the end zone and keep the game close. But you're going to need guys like Wan'Dale Robinson and the others also to come up with big plays, as well as Theo Johnson. They need better players at wide receiver and tight end, and they can't afford drops against an elite team like Philadelphia. Yeah, but again, if you're a Dodger fan, let's be real. You're happy a lot of the time. I mean, my dad's normally never not happy. I mean, the Dodgers are always one of the best teams in baseball, and they have been, since the 50s. So, since my dad was a little kid and started following them. And a necessary roughness by Brown there, Sidney Brown, former Husky. And we got 2017 Giants with 13.50 to go. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And we're looking to get 5 to 15 subs. Gain a couple. 26 subs to go to 22,700. And I know tomorrow we'll hit that number for sure when we do ALDS game number 5 between the Tigers and the Mariners. More than likely, I would assume it'll be Scooball versus George Kirby. And then if George has any type of hiccups, you could potentially throw in Luis Castillo, if you're trying to be able to advance. Obviously, trying to go with just your starters and regular bullpen is, normally what you would do. But in this particular circumstance, if we needed to throw in a starter after a starter, we could do that, if needed. I'm not sure if we'll need that. Hopefully we won't. Hopefully we can just win it with our, batters in the box and we score 5 runs, 7 to 10 hits, and we end up winning 5-2 or 5-3, something of that nature. But we will see how it goes. Yeah, I mean, since he's really the main guy that does Dodgers too, he's got that whole market, just like how I have the whole Seattle market for the most part. And, good for him to be able to continue to have success. Obviously, both of us are, on our way to obviously 25 and, 30,000 subs. And again, I'm happy for him. There's not too many of us that do baseball, game in and game out. There's a guy that does Yankees, obviously there's, Val that does Valhalla that does Dodgers. I do the Mariners. You got the friends up there that do the Blue Jays, but there's not too many, compared to the people that do like the NFL, for example, where you have many people that do that, but not many people have the dedication to do, as many, 150 plus games in a 162 game season. There's a handful of us, and I'm glad that he's having this success. So hell yeah, great for him. And we've been able to have a good jump on our numbers as well. We've been able to hit, 10,000 to 30,000 views lately, which is a great thing to see. And hopefully that we continue to be able to climb with our numbers as well. This was our breakout year, and I knew eventually that we would get there. It's just a matter of support. So yeah, that's who I was speaking of that does Yankees. So I don't know him personally or anything like that, but he does Yankees. Valhalla does the Dodgers. You got the Blue Jays today with the 2 friends that do Blue Jays, and obviously myself that does the Mariners. But there's not too many of us, which is, obviously, I guess, good for our end, But again, it takes a lot of effort, and it's a lot harder to do baseball than it is to do football and other things. That's facts. 2nd down and 4, handoff up the middle. But anyone that's got dreams and goals, I wish them the best. It's not an easy thing to do, and it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of love and passion and dedication. That's for sure. Kayvon Thibodeau, loss of 2 yards on Saquon Barkley. 3rd down and 6 at the Philly 11. Shotgun set. Trips left. Hurts going long, going deep towards the sideline. He's open and overthrows Devontae Smith. If he would have hit him in stride, that would have been a touchdown for sure. 4th down and 6, and the Eagles are going to have to punt. Yeah, and again, I don't compare myself to any other, channel or any other streamer. Anytime you end up comparing yourself to someone else, everyone's journey is different. Everyone has their own time when they end up breaking out or breaking through, with the numbers and whatnot. So, again, it's not an easy thing, to be successful, on YouTube. It takes a lot of grit, a lot of hard work. I mean, for example, have been doing this for 13 years. This is my 9th year on YouTube. Next year will be 14 years streaming, 10 on YouTube. And when I first started, I gave myself a 10-year plan that hopefully by 10 years, I'm, big enough to go full time. And I've already been full time for 3 or 4 years. So I'm ahead of schedule on that end. But this is the first year that we're really breaking out with like the numbers, with the views. And that feels good to be able to not only, break through in the United States, but globally across the coverage. So, to go from, 100 to 500 views, on certain streams, and then now to be able to hit that 10,000 to 30,000 feels damn good, and again, I knew that eventually it would happen. I just had to kind of wait my turn. And, obviously the Seattle Mariners success, the Ducks success, the Buccaneers success, obviously has something to do with it as well. But also, the hard work, the thumbnails, obviously have improved over the years, and also having great background music makes it all kind of come together. So again, it's a team effort with, Brooks Beats, with the great background music, the thumbnails, and just the great overall presentation and vibe that we have here. And obviously great fans that are a part of this channel that make it what it is. Couldn't do it without you guys. And Dart with a short right pass there to Humphrey for 6 yards. 2nd down and 4 at the 50. Yeah, I've been a fan since the 80s, correct. Third down and 1 for Jackson Dart and the New York Football Giants. And that 3-yard run by Tracy. DeJean and Campbell with the tackle. Handoff up the middle. Scataboo. First down, Giants. And we got a flag on the play. We'll see what we got there. Who's that on? Is that on Philly? We've got to keep moving the football here, but I'm so happy that New York is coming out with a fire in their belly to make this game fun. I was really thinking that it would be close and the Giants would have a chance after the Broncos beat the Eagles and the Bucks almost beat the Eagles. We know the Eagles are great, but they're not untouchable. Personal foul, face mask. There we go, 15-yard penalty. First down, Giants, move the chains. And Young is the guilty participant there on Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, obviously, getting popped, around the same time as well. I mean, we're starting to, gain more and more, days, weeks, months, and years with some of the regulars from back in the day. And even though some of those OGs may have moved on, to other channels and other things, I'm still here. And obviously, they can always come back whenever. Floater towards the sideline, incomplete. And we got a flag on the play. And we'll see if that's on Philadelphia. I assume that will be PI. All the momentum for the New York Football Giants here. Prior to the pass, illegal contact on the defense. 5-yard penalty. First down, Giants. But I think for the most part, since there's, only about 4 or 5 of us, that are kind of well known that, do baseball full time, I think all of us kind of know of each other, even though we may not know each other personally. Who's doing what, for what teams and who's grinding. Just like people know who's doing what on football and other things as well, as Dart ends up getting tripped up there on that run on first down. 2nd down and 3 for the Giants. We got the Kraken just about to get started here against the Anaheim Ducks in their season opener. And Tracy getting absolutely stuffed there by two Eagles. 3rd down and 3. No gain. Yeah, I got Kraken winning tonight. There'll be better than last year. You know, I think Shane Wright hopefully will have a breakout year. We'll see if Matty Beniers, and a few of the other guys can, get the job done. Jared McCann. Really what it's going to come down to with the Kraken being successful is better play in the net. That's the real problem. And now they got a third guy, to add on with Grew and Joey DeCord. But, at some point we need better players in net. And eventually once they get, an all-star player in net, that might end up, kind of taking the team to another level. Again, they got some pretty good centers and pretty good forwards and pretty good defensemen. They grab Mason Marchment from Dallas, the Stars. So they grab guys, from Vegas, from Florida, the Panthers. So, you're getting, players that have won championships on other teams joining Seattle, but again, it's all about finding the right chemistry. And also they have another, brand new head coach, and we don't know how long he'll last. It seems like the Kraken has a short leash with their coaches, that they only give them a year or two and they let them go and they fire them and try to find someone else. So we'll see where it goes. But I will be tuning in, at some point, and hopefully they'll find a way to be victorious in game number 1. It looks like it's the bottom of the 3rd, 3-0 Cubs still. Peralta on the mound, and Werner just lined out to 3rd. Next up is Ortiz. $26 subs to go to get to 22,700. We're at 10 on the dono train, 90 to go. And where are we at on the likes right now? Hopefully we can get somewhere in that 40 to 50 range, unless we end up getting a boost in viewership before the game ends if it gets a little bit closer. And John Michael Schmidt's injured on the play. I don't know if he's got a bloody nose there. It looks like a lot of blood is coming out. Looks like Jahad Campbell got him with a elbow in the nose. 3rd down and 3 at the Eagles 17. Shotgun set, 3 wide receiver set. Dart, 4-man, pressure, Dart bouncing it to the outside and looking for that first down marker and diving head first. What an animal. And I do see a little bit of Baker Mayfield and Jackson Dart, just the way that he approaches the game, and again, a lot of confidence, a lot of swagger, and is going to use his body to show that he's not afraid and he wants to lead. And I can really respect that. I like that dog mentality. Iverson had a interview recently talking about how he loves Baker Mayfield as well. And floater by Dart, back of the end zone, incomplete. But just like Baker said, when he was talking, back in the day, they would call him immature. Now when he talks, because the team is good, he's a dog. So again, if you chirp at a guy like Baker, don't expect it to go well. Like that Seahawk fan that went overboard. Obviously, it didn't really work out too well for the Seahawks in that game against Baker Mayfield in Tampa. I mean, if you're going to poke the bear, you better realize who you're doing that to. Otherwise, it won't go your way. Halfback toss, Scataboo bouncing to the outside. Great block by Theo Johnson. Oh, first down, Giants. What a block. And again, great team effort by this New York Football Giant team, up by 3, and they should be able to be up by 10 if they keep going to Scataboo. But Theo Johnson What a block right here. Man in motion. Johnson, the lead blocker. Helmet on a helmet. Bang! Great job there. And Scataboo, has got that really good lower body strength and upper body strength, kind of like MJD, Maurice Jones-Drew. It's kind of like a bowling ball, where if you hit him high, you're just going to bounce off of him. And Scataboo gets a lot of guys that bounce off of him. You got to tackle him low, not high. Scataboo lowering his head. Look at that dog. Wow, that's close. I mean, second effort, he got in, but they're probably going to mark him down at like the 6-inch yard line, even though he kept going. Scataboo is a dog. Forward progress, boo! Let him go. I mean, hell, if we got a tush push and they have guards jumping early and they're going to run it 5 times in a row, and it looked like there was a face mask on Scataboo anyway. All right, now it's a touchdown. Good call. There we go. What a dog. Got a face mask. He got over, right? And then they punched the football out late, but he already got in. And then the Giants recovered. And finally, Scataboo and Dart are starting to become maybe my favorite 1-2 combo as far as rookies, on a team that's not very good. Now, I love Emeka Egbuka. We already know that. I love Tyler Warren on Sarah's Colts. But I love Dart and Scataboo, man. They are fun. They are fun, baby. And I will be doing the Ducks in Indiana. I will be live streaming that since we won't have a Mariner game on that day. Looking forward to that too. Extra point is up and good. And the uniforms that they're rocking with the black and the green, fire. I can't wait. Can't wait to call that game. And, do we have a chance to lose that game? Of course, again, but Oregon is still one of the best teams in the country. Dante Moore more than likely will win the Heisman. And again, I like our chances, not only for the Buccaneers, the Ducks, and the Mariners. It's the first time that all 3 of my teams have been like championship worthy in like 25 years. So, again, I'm not saying that the Mariners are going to win it all, the Ducks are going to win it all, and the Buccaneers are going to win the Super Bowl, but there's a chance that possibly one of those teams could win it all, and maybe, if I'm really lucky, 2. Now, if all 3 end up winning it all in the same year, I don't know what I would do. I would, the channel would explode, and I would lose my mind, having all of my 3 favorite teams win it in the same year, but that would be a little too greedy, I assume, from the sports gods, Yeah, but you never know, how things could play out. But I definitely have contenders in all 3 teams, and, you never know. Obviously, Tampa would probably be the hardest. The Mariners and the Ducks are more, it feels like they're maybe one step higher. But I do believe Tampa is a top 3 team in the NFC with the Lions and Eagles. So, if you play the Eagles in the NFC Championship game or the Lions, you got a chance. And then if you go to the Super Bowl and play against, like, let's say the Bills, you got a chance. The NFC team, it seems like they're a little bit more well-rounded than the AFC teams. AFC teams got really good offense, but the defense is kind of suspect. And then the teams that have really, really good defense, they might not be good enough to make the Super Bowl. They might make the playoffs, like, for example, like Denver. They got a really good defense, but is Bo Nix and the offense good enough, to win the AFC? And at this point, we probably would say no, but eventually, they're getting better and better. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But the NFC teams are a little bit more well-rounded on offense and defense, but, anything is possible. Eagles, Bills, Super Bowl could definitely happen, but I'm hoping, the Bucks could play the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. First, I would want to play the Lions first, and then hopefully find a way to beat them unless Philly plays them. And then, going against Philly in the NFC Championship game and getting payback from them beating me a few weeks ago would be, top tier wish list, to be able to make the Super Bowl with Baker. But with all the injuries that we've had, and we do still have some holes on defense, again, wishful thinking, but we'll see. (27-17) Giants. And now we'll see if the Giants defense, strategy-wise, you're still going to have to run the ball with Saquon. You're still going to throw the ball. But again, at this point, do they go a little bit more pass than run? And if that's the case, that's going to favor the Giants, because at some point they are going to get a tipped interception or a fumble, and then maybe would start to run away with the game. If you're the Eagles, you got to have a balanced offense. You can't go away from Saquon. You have to make sure that he's still getting touches and screen passes to keep the defense honest. Bucks Colts Super Bowl. Could you imagine? I mean, AFC is up for grabs. I mean, we know the Bills and Eagles are great, but there's no undefeated teams. So it's not like that aura is still the same compared to if the Eagles and Bills were 10-0, you know, and then it would be a little different. It feels like anyone's got a chance this year. I mean, as far as like the good teams, right? You got the Bills, you got the Steelers, you got the Colts, you got the Jags, and then you got the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs. So if you look at those teams, I mean, is there one team that is that much better than everyone else? I mean, prior to the Bills losing, we would have said Buffalo, but their defense at times is a little suspect, as well as their O-line. So, you know, and again, now obviously the Chiefs are not as good as they used to be, but, you know, we'll see if they'll be able to recover and make a wild card. Maybe Denver will win the division this year, you know, unless the Chargers can get healthy, but Najee and Hampton going down with injuries was not ideal for them. Shotgun set, first down and 10. Hurts, looking, got plenty of time, making a sandwich back there, bootleg, rolling to his right, 30-yard line, looking downfield towards the sideline, and caught by A.J. Brown. And he does catch it. And then obviously on the NFC side, right, we got the Eagles, possibly the Commanders if Jaden Daniels can get healthy. We got the Buccaneers in the South. You got the Lions and the Packers in the North. And then you got three teams in the Niners, Seahawks, and Rams battling it out. So 3 teams in the AFC West, 3 teams in the NFC West, you know, and obviously 2 in the AFC South. And then you're probably only going to get 1 in the North, the Steelers, 1 in the East, the Bills. And the same thing goes in the NFC. You know, you might only get 1 in the South, and then maybe 1, you know, in the East with the Eagles, unless the Commanders can turn it around. And then you're going to get more than likely Packers and Lions making it. And you'll probably get 2 teams out of the NFC West, Rams and Niners, Rams and Hawks, you know, or a combination of those, unless the Niners can find a way, even with all those injuries, to keep winning. But you would assume at some point they're going to hit a wall. And I know the Niners and the Bucks are going to go at it, and the battle of the, you know, the teams that are the most injured, but I like our chances. 7-yard pass from Hurts to A.J. Brown down to the Giant 49. And we got 2nd down and 3 with the Giants with a 10-point lead. I love it. Yeah, Baker, I mean, again, has been playing like an MVP. He definitely is a top 3 candidate. And if you said that he's the front runner right now, I don't think anyone could really deny that. With the 2-minute drill, all the comebacks, you know, looking at his, you know, QB rating, you know, his touchdown to interception ratio, his completion percentage, the way that he plays, you know, he is, you know, definitely the perfect player, you know, for the Tampa Bay fan base, including myself. And again, I like our chances against the Lions or the Eagles if we had to face those teams, or the Niners, you know, Rams or Hawks or the Commanders or whoever it is. But I definitely feel, you know, Eagles, Lions, Bucks are the 3 best in the NFC. And if we were to face the Lions or Eagles, I like our chances to win. Jalen slipping through the coverage there and sliding down safe on 2nd down and 10. Doesn't want to risk getting blasted. Nobody wants CTE if you're an NFL player. And if you can prevent some of those hits to the head, you're going to go and slide. Good decision there by Jalen. 3-yard gain. 3rd down and 7 at the Philly 47. You can't go away from Saquon. The moment you go away from Saquon, the Giants are going to pull away. 3rd down and 7. Giants bringing the blitz, and they got him. They got him. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a Giant sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And Spida Burns and company, I mean, man, again, you know, you got Kayvon Thibodeau, you got Brian Burns, Spida Burns, and he was an animal on the Panthers. I would know because I'm a Buck fan. And again, you know, finding ways to be able to get to Jalen Hurts. And if you're going to avoid going to Saquon, that's going to be the end of you. And Brian Burns with the sack lunch, and one-on-one, you can't guard him. I mean, they should have already known that when they watched the film with him on the Carolina Panthers. What a dog. Oh, 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 oh. Love it. And the Eagles with the punt. Yeah, Kirby pitching tomorrow versus Skubal. I think that's what we all kind of figured. Yeah, a little bit of bad luck. You know, they had the Jalen Milroe fumble, and the Bucs took advantage, and then Darnold hit one off the helmet, and then Levante David, you know, jumped in with great instincts and intercepted it. But that was really the difference. You know, it was whoever had the ball last more than likely was going to win. You know, I had Mike Evans out, Bucky Irving out, 3 guys in my secondary out, and we were still able to find a way to, you know, win that game. And we had no turnovers. They had 2, and that was the difference. But Darnold is having a pretty good year, you know, overall with them, even though they may not have the record that they want, you know. But again, it's going to be a battle, you know, between the Rams, the Niners, and the Hawks. And you're probably going to only get 2 teams that make the playoffs. And nobody knows at this point who's going to win the division, let alone who's going to be the team that gets second and who's the team that's going to get left out. So. Yeah, I mean, anytime that you got Mike, though, you know, he's a threat. Anytime he plays, we normally don't win when he doesn't play. Obviously, Godwin does need to shake a little bit of the rust off, but having Emeka Egbuka, we already have our number 1, you know, so again, like, you know, once Mike Evans and Godwin retires, we can go with Emeka Egbuka as the 1, you know, Jalen McMillan as, you know, the 2, you know, once the neck heals up. That was very unfortunate in preseason that happened. You got guys like Tez Johnson, you know, that you could throw out there, you know, in the mix as well. And obviously having a 3-headed horse at running back too, you know, with Sean and with Rashad and with Bucky. Obviously not having Bucky is tough, but we still have 2 solid running backs, you know, behind him, you know, when Rashad White and Sean Tucker, that we can still win games and be productive, which is nice. And, you know, the number 1 thing that I've noticed, you know, in the first month that, you know, we've really turned it around is the offensive line with Tristan Wirfs back. Because when Wirfs is back, I mean, you have no chance of being able to do anything against him. He's still one of the best in the game, if not the best at his position. He pancakes guys on the regular. And when you end up running in front of him, you know, or behind him, excuse me, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, he's going to clear a path and you're going to score regardless if it's Bucky, Rashad, or Sean. And I'm very happy that Wirfs is back and healthy. He is an absolute stud. Bottom of the 4th, 3-0 Cubs. Boyd on the mound, Yelich in the box. Yeah, those Iowa Hawkeyes are something else. Love them. Shotgun set for Jackson Dart. And this is a cool moment that I really am sad that Malik Neighbors isn't able, you know, to be a part of, because they would have been able to have him kind of break out on national TV. Like everyone, you know, gets to see the Eagles more times than not. Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, or if you go out of your way to watch them because they're a good team, right? Or if they're playing your favorite team. But we don't get to see the Giants, nor that we usually care to go out of our way to watch them. But with Dart and Scataboo, and obviously when Malik Neighbors comes back from the ACL, hopefully they can keep building the O-line, better supporting cast at wide receiver and tight end. And obviously the defense has shown that they have some dogs out there in Spider Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. They just need a few more. But I like the way that Dart moves around the field. It definitely reminds me of Baker Mayfield. You know, there's some similarities there. You know, definitely very good vision, good decision maker, you know, even though he's a rookie, and great legs to be able to, you know, avoid the pressure. And they got Reed Blankenship down on the ground. I hope he's okay. Yeah, there's been a few kind of moments with the Phillies in this series. So, especially in the first 2 games that they played at home that they dropped, where, you know, there were some moments there where they may have been able to win at least one of those, but, you know, some mental errors late in games have definitely cost them the opportunity to keep going further. But at least they have the Eagles. You know, they may not be able to win championships on the baseball side, but at least they have the Eagles. 3rd down and 2 at the Giant 18. Let's see what Dart does here. And he is so fun to watch. Dart steps up in the pocket. Nice slant. Whoa! Big hit. And it flips the player. Wow. Unbelievable. Did you see that hit? Dart with this nice slant, and as soon as the Eagle player hits him, it almost like, look at him, bang, pops him. What a tackle there, and still hanging on the football. And again, a lot of times that would have been a fumble. Great job there by Wandale Robinson. First down, Giants. Throw to the sideline there. Chris with a $5. Appreciate you, my guy. Stacks. Racks with a little cactus jack. Bang, bang. We're at 15. 85 to go to hit the goal on the dono train. Appreciate you, Chris. Go M's. Dart going long, going deep. Got a man. And complete. And again, Lamar used to be the best runner, but since he's been hurt this year, and even before he got hurt, Baker has been better. But Baker looks like he's the best running quarterback, at least for 2025 up to this point. And there's other guys that are pretty good at it, like Dart. I really love watching him play, and I'm just so happy that, it's not 17-0 Philly, and we're just kind of, going through the motions right now and talking more about the baseball games that are going on rather than this game. It's nice to be able to actually focus on, the matchup at hand, but also keep tabs on the Cubs and the Brewers. But this is a great kind of breakout party for Dart and Scataboo, and I'm so proud of them. And you almost guarantee if Neighbors was playing, he would have scored once or twice in this game as well. There's no doubt about it. And it probably would have been something fucking spectacular. Slotman with the false start. Third down and 8 at the Giants 35. And it also shows you if you play teams in your division, it doesn't matter. Record-wise, throw that out the window. 4-1 Eagles, 1-4 Giants, first place, last place, doesn't matter. And again, that's another reason why I like matchups within the division. Floater, wow! Oh my God! Dart is a G. First down, Giants. And again, I don't know what I'm watching. Is this Phil Simms? Is this Jeff Hostetler? Is this Eli Manning? Man, it definitely ain't Jameis Winston or Russell Wilson. My goodness. He is slinging it with pressure on right in the breadbasket. This guy is special. Wow. Dart with a dart. Move the chains. I mean, out of all the games that I've watched this year, this is definitely one of the top 5 as far as, quarterback performance, from a rookie. Dart, looking, and obviously the offensive line protection breaks down, and you got 3 Eagles there. Down he goes, and hopefully he gets up. He's laying there now. Uh-oh. Hope he's not hurt. Had a big Eagle player land on him, and he's slow to get up. He's on his back still. Damn it! Get up, Dart! Get up, Jackson. Fuck. And, the Eagles got some big boys up there. Yeah, a lot of times with no contact, it's an Achilles, and then you already see it pop, and then, season over and whatnot. But so he gets hit from the right side, and it doesn't really look like it with his legs, but then gets popped from the left side, and then his head kind of goes awkwardly, into the other direction there. And hopefully it's not a concussion or anything there, but it doesn't really look like it's anything to do with his legs. It's just like he got hit from one side with the legs, and then the head, kind of got blasted in the other direction. And when you get hit with the neck or the head like that, and it moves awkwardly, just like when you get your knee bent in kind of a weird way, it definitely can slow you down. Hopefully Dart is okay. I appreciate that, man. And again, this is our first really breakout year, going from, 100 views to 500 views, 500 to 1,000 views. And then now, we're doing streams of 10,000 to 30,000 on the regular. So Obviously, the Buccaneers, Mariners, and Ducks success this year has something to do with that also. More people are interested, but also I'm going with a global audience. I'm getting people, not only in the United States, but, all over the world, in Japan and Canada and Mexico, Dominican Republic, and many, many other locations, which is great. And we got amazing people like yourself that continue to support, like Sarah, Chris, and Reflect. And I definitely appreciate that very, very much as well. And, somebody's got to represent the Ducks. Somebody's got to represent the Mariners. And somebody's got to represent the Buccaneers. And again, we'll also do Blazers. We'll do Kraken. But on top of that, I'm a fan of sports. So if there's good matchups in any sport, more than likely, I'm going to do it. So, we're always going to be busy. And I plan on doing this for the rest of my life. So, if there's a good NHL matchup down the road, we might do it. If there's a good NBA matchup when the Blazers are off, we might do it. Obviously, once the football season's over, we focus a little bit more on the NBA, the NHL, and NASCAR for about a month and a half. And then once baseball gets back, in March, then it'll be baseball, Mariners, pretty much from March all the way to October, hopefully, year in and year out. And then we'll continue to do a lot of NFL, a lot of college football. And then we have, things that we can fall back on as filler streams like NHL, NBA, and NASCAR, Cup Series, Xfinity, and trucks, which I don't, have a problem doing. Really, the only thing that we might have to scale back on is going to be WWE streams, because I don't think I really want to pay $30 a month, to watch a WWE PLE. They haven't really been that good lately. And again, they're getting too greedy with TKO. I used to do one wrestling stream a month, but at this point, we may not do it on the stream anymore. Or if we do, it might not be for a while, unfortunately. And if you watch it on a streaming link, you're going to be behind, 15 to 30 seconds. So I could still watch them, but I'm not going to be able to live stream them if I have a delay. So, and Tyrone Tracy with a short game. Sarah, did you pay the $30 a month for WWE, or have you been watching Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and the PLEs lately, or have you got a little upset on the greed from TKO and WWE? It feels like they've lost a lot of fans lately, based on their greed of trying to charge that much money, and then ESPN trying to buy out Good Morning Football, NFL Network, as well as WWE and their partnership. I don't like it one bit. Keep NFL Network on NFL Network. Keep WWE separate, but it's all about greed and money, unfortunately, just like everything else in fucking life. 3rd down and 9 at the Philly 42. Shotgun set as Russell Wilson now is in, and he can't throw it worth a damn. Incomplete. That wasn't even fucking close. What kind of throw was that, Russ? And they're boo. Yeah, and I feel bad for, like Reefer and Odin and a lot of us regulars that we would get together and watch once a month, but I don't think I'm going to do it. Unless they be able to, bring the price down to $9.99 a month, then I would do it. But if it's going to be like anything similar to Peacock and the WWE Network, I'll do it. But if it's more than $10 a month, I'm not doing it. It's just plain and simple. I love WWE, but I'll still watch maybe here and there, but I'm not going to be as invested as I was based off their greed, unfortunately. And Giants with the punt, and fair caught there. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't even really watch NXT Raw or SmackDown that much anymore either. Just the whole greed, $30 a month to do a PLE is just ridiculous. And I don't think they realize how many fans they've lost, just due to that greed. And fair caught by Jahan Dotson, the former Commander. 1st down and 10 at the Philly 12. And hopefully we get Jackson Dart back in the game, because Russell Wilson stinks. I'd rather have Jameis Winston play than Russell Wilson. But I think Jameis is not even available. I mean, he's the emergency QB. 1st down and 10. Shotgun set. Handoff to Saquon. Good defense there by the Giants. The thing about Jameis is, yeah, he'll fuck up sometimes and fumble and throw pick sixes, but you have a better chance of a spectacular touchdown with Jameis than with Russell Wilson. Like, Jameis will fuck up, but he'll also make up for it with a touchdown. You know what I mean? So he might have 2 touchdowns and 2 picks, and the picks might be terrible,
but, Russell Wilson will have 0 touchdowns and 2 picks. Like, what would you rather have? I'd rather have the guy that might fuck up, but he'll also make up for it with a 60-yard touchdown pass to Wan'Dale Robinson, something like that. So I think Jameis, even though he is a comedian and people don't really take him seriously with his pregame and postgame speeches, he is a better player than Russell Wilson at this point in his career, in my opinion. And Saquon Barkley wrapped up again, and they're trying to not avoid Saquon. But again, the Giants' D-line, like Reflect said, is amazing. I mean, when you got Spida Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, watch out. Oh, I'm definitely pulling for the Giants to win. I love me some Jackson Dart and Scataboo. And again, on paper, everyone said, this one's going to be not even worth doing. Eagles are going to win by 20 or 30. I said, I don't think so. I thought that this would be actually close, and I was hoping that Dart and Scataboo would play well, where they would have a chance late in the fourth quarter or at some point in the game, and they got a 10-point lead. And again, I played them really well, besides the block punt on the first drive that the Eagles scored. And, we only had 6 points at half. We were down by 20, but we only let them score a touchdown in the second half total and almost came back and won. And then the Eagles lost to Denver last week. So, again, the losses, and the competition level is a lot closer. The Eagles and the Bills, at one point early in the year, it looked like they were destined to play each other in the Super Bowl. But now, with the Eagles and the, Buffalo Bills losing and now having no undefeated teams by week 5, week 6, it's up for grabs. And that's what makes the NFL one of the best sports, in the world. That it's so close between the good teams and the bad teams. The margin of error is so slim. Let's go to the fourth quarter, baby. 27-17 Giants. Nice breakout party for Dart and Scataboo. I love it. Absolutely, I would love that. I mean, realistically, if this happened, we would lose, probably in 5 or 6 games, realistically, unless, we ended up playing out of our minds, and we actually went all the way. But, I definitely feel, this is the first year of many, many years of the Mariners being, really good. And again, if we hopefully win, tomorrow, which I feel that we will, and then getting past the Blue Jays won't be easy, but if anyone could do it, it's us. And then if anyone were to win against the Dodgers or the Brewers, it's us. But again, the Dodgers with Ohtani, potentially pitching twice and hitting, and Mookie and Freddie and Teoscar and Kike and, Yamamoto and, all the guys that they have, it would be extremely tough. But imagine if we were able to do it. And if it was Mariners, Dodgers, and we won it all, how amazing that would feel. And again, I wouldn't want it any other way. And honestly, the Brewers are very good, though. So we know how good the Dodgers have been, but they struggle a little bit with Milwaukee. So, everyone is just assuming the Dodgers are going to be the National League representative. I mean, it could potentially be Milwaukee. They're not some slouch team. They had the best record for a good chunk of the year, and they have the best road record out of any team in baseball. So, we'll wait and see how it all plays out. Hopefully, Blue Jays, Mariners, Brewers, Dodgers. That's what I want. All right, 3rd down and 12. Start of the fourth quarter. Jalen, pressure up the middle. Got plenty of time. Check down. Saquon Barkley is there, dodging 1, but not 2. And we got 6 Giants with the tackle. There we go. But as far as like star power, the Brewers don't have the same star power as the Dodgers, name recognition wise, but they do have a lot of dogs over there. And I do like Mizorowski, the pitcher. That guy's crazy good. He's like the only guy that can pitch 100 miles an hour like 12 times in a row. He's special. 4th down and 2. And Jackson Dart will be back in the game because no one wants to watch Russell Wilson do anything. Now let's see what kind of return we get here from the Giants. Decent return. So for me, it's Mariners, right? Kraken that are in Washington. I live in Oregon, so obviously we don't have, those type of teams there. And then Ducks, Blazers, and then obviously my NFL team, as you can see my hat and my jersey, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Buccaneers are the only team I root for that's outside of Oregon and Washington and the Pacific Northwest, just because I don't have a connection to the Hawks or the Niners or the Raiders or the Chargers. I'm a defensive-oriented fan. I like linebacker and safety, offensive line, kind of the most. And, I just fell in love with Sapp and Brooks and Lynch, Barber, Simeon Rice, and especially Mike Allstott. And I've been a fan of the Bucs since 95, 30 years, and that's where it is. Now, if the Legion of Boom existed in 1995, maybe I would have been a Seahawk fan, but they didn't have that at that time. So I had more of a connection with Sapp and Brooks and Lynch and Barber and Allstott, and I've been rocking with them ever since. All right, here we go. Dart is back in the game, baby. Here we go. Go Giants, baby. Go Giants. It's great for the league when we can have this type of parity where anybody can beat anyone. Even the worst team in the division at 1-4 can beat a 4-1 Super Bowl contender like Philadelphia. I love it. But it also shows you how good Dart, Scataboo, and Dart are as rookies. They're not normal rookies. Pass towards the sideline and caught. Again, Dart, Scataboo, Emeka Egbuka, Tyler Warren. These guys are not normal. These guys are better than we've seen, from rookies in the past few years. There's no doubt about that. What a throw and what a catch. Dart with a dart. Unbelievable. And the Saints were stupid for not taking Jackson Dart in the draft. But again, I'd rather see him on New York with Scataboo than on a team like that. So Cubs up 3-0 in the bottom of the fifth. Okay. Cubs trying to force a game 5, I see. Yeah, but it doesn't matter if they're going to be last in the East. They're just making football fun for Giant fans, knowing that they're not going to go to the playoffs, but they can play spoiler. So, if you're an Eagles fan, don't be butthurt. You're still going to be one of the best teams in the NFL, but again, maybe not as good as people originally think. Should have lost to the Buccaneers. You lost to the Broncos, and Giants up by 10 with 13 minutes to go. Yeah, last place team about to win against a first place team. And not only that, one of the best teams in the NFC, the Super Bowl contender, that might be number one. But it may not be number one if they drop this game. We might be talking about the Lions and the Buccaneers or someone else. Really, the only fraud with one loss is the Niners, but they've done a great job with Shanahan and coaching to be able to have that record. So eventually the L's will start piling up, you would assume, but you got to give them credit as a staff. If Dart doesn't get hurt and they can continue to move the chains, you would assume Philly will still have one more, leap of faith where they're going to get on a little bit of a run, or if they're able to score and then they end up getting a pick or a fumble and score again and they can get back in it. But if the Giants don't have that big bugaboo, play where they fumble it or have a big pick and the Giants are clean the rest of the way, it's going to be hard for them to lose this game, especially if Dart is out there. Let him know, Clyde. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And we're looking for 5 to 15 subs. Let's go. Gained a few subs, 25 to go to 22,700. Let's go. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube, baby. And we will be live tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific for ALDS game number 5, Tigers and Mariners. And then on Saturday, we'll end up doing Indiana and the Oregon Ducks. And then hopefully if we, win, obviously against the Tigers, against Scooball tomorrow, I believe that the ALDS game 1 will be on Sunday. So... And Dotson with a 9-yard return. First down and 10 at the Philly 34. And you would have to assume, at some point Philly will start clicking. But if they avoid Saquon, they'll be in trouble. And obviously the D-line has been winning the battle between the D-line and O-line for the Giants and the Eagles. So you're going to have to get rid of the football very quickly like that to Devontae Smith towards that sideline, to be able to, avoid those big sacks that were happening to Jalen Hurts this entirety of the game. No Landon Dickerson up front and no Jalen Carter on the other side has hurt them today, and it shows. But a lot of quick plays, quick passes have to be executed here. First down and 10 after Devontae Smith with that first down. Floater, one-on-one. And good defense there by the Giants, but they're going to call PI there on New York. Paulson Adebo. If he wouldn't have pushed him in the chest and turned his head around, he would have been fine because it was underthrown and whatnot. But he puts his hand up and does kind of turn his head late. But with a little, you got to make sure you're not doing that. If he would have kept his hands down and then turned around and then batted it, I think it would have been good. But obviously it was a little underthrown, as Herb Street mentioned, and Devontae Smith being smart there. First down and 10, Eagles with some momentum here. Feels like they're going to get 3 minimum, but probably a touchdown. Giants reeling a little bit now, and Eagles are about to score. But if they do, Giants will still have a 3-point lead. That's why it's going to be so key for Dart in these next couple drives to get at least 3, minimum to keep the pressure on. Because, again, if you're not able to score any more the rest of the game, there's a good chance that you're going to lose, whether it be in regulation or in overtime. First down and 10, shotgun set for Jalen, 4 wide receiver set. Floater, and wide receiver is down, and a flag on the play. A.J. Brown on the ground. Hopefully he's okay. No foul on the play. And we're at 39 likes. We need 11 to get to 50. So if you are in the room and you haven't smashed the like button yet, please do. Help us get to at least 50 at the bare minimum. I know we got 35, but anyone that hasn't done it yet, please do. And depending on if the Eagles can get this close, we might get a little boost in viewership, especially if this game goes into overtime or if it ends up being close with 2 minutes to go. Second down and 10 at the Giants 15, and this has to be, a touchdown for Philadelphia. There we go. Appreciate you, Sarah. Shotgun set. Giants with the blitz. Intercepted. Let's go. Let's go. Pick six. Pick six. Go, 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 go. There we go. Exactly what I wanted to see. That big play, a pick, a fumble, and whoever was going to have that particular play, it was going to benefit that other team. And, you knew at some point there was going to be a pick six, a fumble for a touchdown. And again, Jalen Hurts, just lobbing it a little too much right there, and a big jump right there with that interception. And if he just was a little bit faster, That would have been a pick six, but Saquon and Jalen run him down, and wow, Flott. Great jump by Flott, baby. I love it. Great job, Giants. Again, if you didn't know the Giants were 1-4, you would assume that they're at least 2-2. You know, they look like they're playing like a 3-1 team, you know, right now, or at least a 2-2 team. Great job for them. But remember, some of those losses were before Dart. You know, they were with Russell Wilson. So if they would have started with Dart at the beginning of the year, maybe they're 2-3 or 3-2 right now. So I love it, man. I love it. You know, and this is great for Tampa. This is great for Detroit. You know, it's great for, you know, the Niners, the Rams, the Seahawks, Green Bay, you know, the Commanders, the Falcons. You know, again, we're loving this. You know, again, you know, we should have beat them. We didn't get a chance to score a touchdown in the first half. Blocked, you know, punt for a touchdown after they got a blocked field goal, you know, against the Rams on the last play of the game. But eventually your luck is going to run out, and everyone is better this year. And there's no undefeated teams. And the Broncos, with their amazing defense, beat them last week. And we're on the brink and on the cusp. If we can eliminate some dumb self-inflicted wounds by a false start here by the Giants, if they can punch in a touchdown here and go up 34-17, it's over. Yeah, why would you start Russell Wilson? But again, that they're scared to start rookies. You know, they would rather go with the vet, wait for them to fuck up the first month or the first 2 to 3 weeks, and then they make the move. You know, why can't someone just have the courage of going with a rookie right away? But I guess when you have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston there, you know, there's pressure, whether it be from the owner or the GM, you know, to give the vet a try. Oh, maybe the rookie ain't ready. Well, Dart looks pretty fucking ready. And again, Dart, Scataboo, Emeka Egbuka, Tyler Warren, these 4 guys are doing things that we normally don't see rookies do. And it's awesome. And also look at the Steelers, what they're doing with Rodgers now, you know. I mean, well, you know, Wilson had moments, you know, last year, but obviously Rodgers as an old vet, you know, you never know. Sometimes a change of scenery can do a guy good, but in Russell Wilson's case, you're just not good. So it doesn't matter where you go. You're just, you know, a backup quarterback at best, but not even a good one. Floater! And dropped, almost a tutty. But again, I wouldn't even want Russell Wilson as my 3rd string quarterback. And I'm not trying to be a hater, but he needs to retire. You know, all of his antics and everything else, he just, you know, he used to be a good player. He changed as a person. He's not even worth having on a roster anymore. 2nd string or 3rd. PI, Philly, move the chains. Let's go. Give it to Scataboo or go RPO with Dart. Let's go. Yeah, but also they don't got Malik Neighbors out there. You got guys like Wan'Dale Robinson and others. So, you know, and then you got Hyatt out there. So you got some inexperienced guys that aren't the greatest, but, you know, it should be. Dart is throwing darts, right? But eventually the talent will be better. And the Giants at one point will, you know, be a 10-7 team in a couple years. And, you know, hopefully they'll end up making the playoffs, you know, at some point or another. A couple more pieces on D, a couple more pieces on O. I like what I see here. Here we go. Punch it in. Dart. Scataboo. Touchdown, Giants. Let's go. And again, this is exactly what the New York fan base needed. You know, that punch in the arm that said, hey, the ownership fucked up by starting Russell Wilson. Jameis should be 2nd string, right? But now you got the Dart era, and Dart and Scataboo are scary. You lost Malik Neighbors, who normally, if he's healthy, could be a top 10 receiver in this league, right? Especially if he didn't get hurt this year, you know, based on target share and also production with touchdowns. But even though with no Malik Neighbors, right? Dart and Scataboo, woo, special. And then on top of that, Spider Burns, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau, go Ducks, getting it done, baby. And if anyone thought there was going to be a blowout, you would think Philadelphia. Not so fast. Extra point is up. And good. Bang. Abdul Carter too. Yeah, absolutely. They got some studs on this team on offense and defense. So yeah, but that was back when he was on Seattle in his prime, when he had great, supporting cast all around. Again, when's the last time Russell actually was good? It's been a long time. He wasn't good in Denver, wasn't good in Pittsburgh. He's not good here. I mean, he was only good in Seattle. That was the only place he was good. And then even towards the end, when he got hurt, you could start to see that the, Father Time kind of started to, catch up a little bit. And obviously they made the move, but Russ hasn't been good for a long, long time. I mean, a lot of other quarterbacks still are like decent, after they go, but the drop off, from what Russ was, top 3 quarterback in the NFL to a guy that shouldn't even be rostered. I mean, Father Time is undefeated. 34-17 Giants, and I fucking love it. I knew this game was going to be a sleeper. And we still got 3-0 Chicago, but we got bases loaded with 1 out. And Churio just got a single. So the Brewers are about to get at least a run on the board here, and they might tie the game up. Yeah, deep throws, accuracy out of Russ early in his career, being able to extend plays, running play action in bootleg, and being able to make something out of nothing. But he can't do that anymore. He doesn't have the skill set anymore to do it, and Father Time is undefeated, and Father Time has not been kind to Russell Wilson. And again, I would rather have Jameis play than Russ any day. Like when you see Russ, it's just not anything to get excited about. If anything, you're just waiting for him to fuck up. Like that's how bad he is. It's like you don't have any confidence that he can even get it into the fucking end zone. You don't even have confidence that he can make a pass. That's how bad it is. If you don't even feel confident that he can get a first down, how the hell is he going to score points and win games? And the answer is he don't. Great job by the Giants. I'm loving it. And good for the Giant fan base. They've been waiting all year for this. And to a casual, they may not care, but I'm loving this, man. Good for them. And a big drop, and the problems continue for Philadelphia. Tampa almost beat them. Denver beat them. And now you're about to lose to the worst team in the division, the 1-4 Giants. But the Giants playing like they're 4-1 today, baby. Awesome game, man. And again, we've only had 1 blowout. I mean, obviously this is, potentially turning into another blowout. But again, I don't know how many people anticipated the Giants doing this today. I did think the Giants had a chance today, which some people called me crazy, but doesn't look too crazy now. Especially with the Giants being at home. I had a feeling, like that Green Bay Dallas game. Everyone thought Green Bay was going to win by, 14 or more. I didn't think so. And especially when you have a good team that goes on the road, you never know if that road team that's not as good gives like a Super Bowl effort, in that game. And then the team that's got the good record comes in a little too cocky, a little too confident. They get punched in the mouth early and they don't recover. And that's exactly what we got here today. Hurts bouncing it to the outside. No Landon Dickerson or Jalen Carter. And obviously some of these runs up the middle by Scataboo, Carter, would meet him head to head. And, who knows, if Scataboo gets in as often as he does, as well as first downs that Scataboo has gotten as well. So second Giants rookie with 3 TDs in a game, Charlie Evans back in the day, 1971. Dart, Scataboo, Emeka, Warren. Special players this year, baby. Special draft class. It's cool to be able to see rookies play like 5-year vets. Hurts, screen pass. Saquon is there, and they started to kind of fade Saquon. And then when they ran him, you can't just run him up the middle. Obviously the Giant D-line is too good. Now, it would work if the Giants didn't have Thibodeau or Abdul Carter or Brian Burns, but, And again, Saquon started the game with back-to-back carries of 18 and 13, and it looked like, if the Giants D-line doesn't, tighten up, this is going to be a long one. But they found a way. 4th down and 4 on the Philly 11, and they're going for it. Fourth down and 4, shotgun set, Hurts. First down, Eagles, move the chains. Maybe A.J. Brown shouldn't have been complaining about, his only one touchdown, and they should be worried about trying to win games instead of trying to get the ball to one guy to make him happy. You got to know your priorities. Shotgun set, Hurts, first down and 10, throw to the sideline. And about an 8-9 yard gain there. Now, if the game was in Philadelphia, the score could be flipped. There's no doubt about that. The chance of Dart playing like this with Scataboo on the road in Philly probably would be different. But, being at home definitely helped. Going deep, what a catch. In between 3 defenders there, Dallas Goedert, move the chains. Yeah, the Bucs should have beat them. Came up just short. And then obviously Denver beat them. And again, we have no undefeated team. So again, that's another part of it too. Not having an undefeated team. Bills lost, Eagles lost. A lot of the mid and lower end teams have gotten much better, this season. There's no dominant team in the NFL. Fumble! But I think he was already down there. There's no one that can say with a straight face, wow, Giants recover, but they'll probably get that back off a replay. But, early in the year, it looked like Eagles-Bills were the 2 best, and they might be able to, go to the Super Bowl. But now, a few weeks later, either one may not even make it, may end up making the AFC and NFC championship game, but, the Bills and Eagles potentially could lose to somebody. Wow, big fumble there. He lost the ball before that knee was down. And again, when it rains, it pours, baby. Big fumble. A.J. Dillon, huh? Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 50 likes, 100 on the dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's go. 25 subs to go to 22,700. Let's get it. And we'll be doing Tigers and Mariners ALDS Game 5 at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Can't wait for that. Looking forward to Indiana and Oregon on Saturday, and hopefully ALCS Game 1 against the Blue Jays on Sunday. Gained a couple subs. 24 subs to go, and we'll definitely get that tomorrow. I agree. I like that team a lot. I think they're better than the Packers, and more times than not, I think that they're just as, good as Philly normally, prior to the last couple weeks, but Detroit, looks pretty special this year. Tampa looks special. Detroit looks special. Philly looks special early, but they're hitting a wall right now. Obviously, the Niners are overachieving, even with all their injuries. I think the Rams are still a good football team. And then you got a couple teams on the bubble, like the Hawks, the Packers, the Commanders, the Falcons, and obviously we know Green Bay's only got a loss, but I'm not sure if anyone really believes in them. They still have too many holes, in my opinion, to make a deep run. Are they good enough to make the playoffs? Yes, But if the Packers play the Lions, the Eagles, the Buccaneers, the Rams, I don't think they win, So I think they're pretty good, but I think there's teams that are better in my opinion. So, but I do love the way that Detroit is playing. I agree. They're fun to watch. Number 1, DN Campbell. Number 3, I love it. And you know how much I love DNs and linebackers. I love safeties as well. I love defense. First down and 10, 34-17. And the only time a blowout is kind of appropriate is when it's the underdog that's doing it. Scataboo running over people, baby. I love it. Boo, boo. I mean, Scataboo is like a Mike Allstott, but a smaller frame. He just runs over guys. It's like a Mike Allstott, MJD in a smaller body, and I love it. Short, compact, strong as hell, and is a dog. Great vision, great speed, great strength. Scataboo. Shout out to the Giants ownership and GM, for making the, draft pick selections of Dart and Scataboo. Genius. First down and 10. Hand off again. Scataboo, God, he's got such great vision, but are we really that surprised? We saw him in college, and he was ripping up teams when he was on Arizona State. So for him to do it in New York, I'm not really that shocked. First down, Giants. And the best part is people can buy Scataboo and Dart jerseys on top of Malik Neighbors. They got 3 jerseys they can buy and they can be proud wearing. Besides, when's the last time the Giants were proud of wearing a jersey? Saquon? It's been a minute, so good for them. And again, it's very hard to win a Super Bowl and get back, and win again, let alone get back to the Super Bowl. And the Eagles are starting to realize this early within the first 5 to 6 weeks. And Scataboo with a short gain. And again, once you have the lead, what do? You run the ball, you bleed the clock. But anytime you get a bad team that beats a good team in a blowout, I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, as long as it's not my team that ends up losing, John Mara, Giants president, CEO, tip of the cap, my guy. And we got a timeout, Philly. (3-0) Chicago. Wow, the Brewers didn't score with bases loaded? That's tough. Good defense there by the Cubs. I thought for sure they would get at least one with bases loaded, but just because you got bases loaded doesn't mean you're going to score automatically. I mean, we know that as Mariner fans. Hand off to Scataboo. And good for New York. They deserve to have some good players to root for, After going through the Eli Manning era, and then the Saquon era, now you got the Dart, Scataboo, and Neighbors era. On top of, Spider Burns and Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau. They've really been doing a pretty damn good job lately. And I love rooting for teams that are bad and then they end up, being like, average and then eventually good, and, they've been at the bottom of the barrel for quite a while. And I can't wait for them to, make the playoffs down the road in a couple of years. Kraken and Ducks 1-1 at the end of the first period. Little play action bootleg by Dart. Scataboo. And a nice catch out of the backfield. First down, Giants. I love it. Flag on the play. And we got goals by, Vince Dunn got a goal. Larson and Schwartz with the assist. Scataboo with the taunting. That's kind of weak, you know. It's not like he stood there over the player or was in his face for 5 seconds. That was like 1 second walking by. I mean, there's so much shit talking that goes on in football. That's a kind of a weak call, in my opinion. After getting blasted too, it's football. I mean, there's always going to be expletives and, you know, certain things that are going to be said on a football field. Scataboo again. You can't guard him, baby. First down, Giants. Love it. Yeah, good blocking up front by the Giants O-line as well. We haven't talked enough about that. Opening up some good holes for Scataboo for sure. Chief O'Chief in the building. What's good, brother? How you doing? Missed you, dude. Hope that you're doing well. We got ourselves an amazing upset here. It's the Scataboo and Dart show, and I love it, man. I love upsets. As long as it's not Tampa being upset by somebody. Like this equivalent of this would be like Tampa losing to like Carolina if Carolina had Dart and Scataboo, something of that nature. And obviously that wouldn't make me feel very good either. I got a couple of the OGs still here in the building with Reflect and Sarah as well. Usually when Chief shows up, Shep mysteriously shows up around the same time, and we haven't seen Shep in a few days. I assume that he's still working hard, and sounds like his life is getting better, which is obviously good for him. And I know you love underdogs too, except when it happens to you too. Just like when it happens to me, I get it too. But I chose to do this game over, you know, the Phillies and Dodgers and the Cubs and Brewers because I thought it would be good. I actually thought the Giants had a chance to win, and if they didn't, I thought it would be close. And again, you know, Giants winning it with a blowout. And this was like the Dart, Scataboo, like you got a chance to be able to put them on a, you know, national platform on Thursday Night Football for a lot of people to see that, wow, these guys are really special this year. You know, those two players, they may not have a lot of wins at this point, but remember, Russell Wilson started the year. It wasn't Jackson Dart, so you got to take that into account as well. Much better of a game than when they played the Saints last week, and I'm happy for them. Playing up to the competition today, playing down to the competition the Saints last week, and obviously that was a bad loss for New York. You know, losing to one of the worst teams in football, and now you beat one of the best the following week. Great coaching by the Giants. 3rd down and 1 at the Philly 29. Yeah, and they have no Malik Neighbors. They're still winning games without him. So, awesome to see. 3rd down and 1 at the Philly 29. And Eagles fans are waiting for this nightmare to end. Giant fans are hoping this game keeps going forever. Scataboo. Dart with the little sneak. 1st down, Giants. It's cool. Like we finally have like a Mike Allstott in the league again in Scataboo. I've been waiting, you know, for a Caucasian running back to eventually emerge to be like Allstott, and I think we found it. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 50 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. And shout out to Brooks Beats for the best beats on YouTube. Duval, Toby in the building. Great to see your Jags playing well this year. Same thing with Sarah's Colts. I don't know if anyone anticipated both of your guys' teams to be this amazing, but great job so far this year. I mean, Devin Lloyd with that big 98, 99-yard pick six. I mean, that was kind of the beginning of the end. I know Chief knows that as well, and again, the Chiefs were very, very good, just like the Patriots were for a long time. And eventually other teams start to catch up. Players get a little bit older, and injuries start to happen. And then everyone starts to kind of get a little bit closer. Chiefs were a lot better than the Broncos, Chargers, and Raiders. And now, not only have those teams gotten better, but the rest of the AFC has gotten better. And, the Chiefs still have a chance to make the playoffs. They may or may not win the division. Obviously, it feels like maybe Denver might end up winning the division, but the Chiefs could still end up getting second place over the Chargers, and they could still get to 10 wins and, go 10-7 and get in. But it definitely feels a little different than what Chief and Chief fans are normally used to. So, but again, as long as you get into the dance, anything can happen. Oh, I hear Paisley. She says, Daddy, I miss you. I'm almost done. Paisley's in here now. I heard her. She'll do a little moan and whine, when she's by the door. And when the kneel down is there, Paisley's getting ready for her victory walk. Yeah, what's up, Paisley? Lay down. Yeah, my boy Brooks Beats, is an up and coming, producer and whatnot. And I figured that I would, I've been his biggest fan, for years and years and years. And he's definitely getting a little bit more serious, with the beat making, with the equipment and putting in the time and the effort. So I figured I would, be one of his clients and, show him some appreciation and love. And, it's one of those things. It's like, I don't have to, send money, obviously I could just, he gives me access and whatnot, but, it's the right thing to do. We're going from 100 to 500 views with another kneel down, 500 to 1,000 views. And then now, we're hitting 10,000 to 30,000 views. And again, it's me, it's the people in the chat, it's the thumbnails, it's the HD 4K photos, but also, the beats are special. And I want to make sure that we can showcase them. And he's been working really hard in the last few months, and he had about 42 that he made. And I went through and, selected 15 that I thought would work great for the channel, since we were already using, 8 to 10 that I've been kind of recycling and using, for the last 5 months. And I figured I would dip into some of the new stuff. And he's an amazing artist. And I figured that we'd be able to showcase what he can do. But again, he's got stuff that's a little bit slower that I usually will play for like commercials and whatnot. So I got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. And then I got others that are a little bit, more upbeat and whatnot. And final score, Giants 34, Eagles 17. Yeah. And incredibly talented, and he makes everything from scratch with the beat pad and everything else and whatnot. And it's not like he's been doing this for just a couple years. Out of all my friends in my friend group, he is the one that I thought that, you know, out of the two of us, that we were going to be the ones that were going to make it. And obviously, if you're making beats, you know, to be able to do that full time and make enough money to live is incredibly difficult. You might have to do it for, you know, 10, 20, 25 years before you get your breakthrough, you know, but again, he's starting to network with other beat makers and whatnot, and, you know, doing like beat competitions and whatnot. And so I'm proud of him. And I figured that, you know, I would be able to show some love and, you know, send him some money, you know, to say thank you for, you know, all your hard work, you know, and obviously the beats on the channel are going to be amazing, you know, not only now, but they have been, and they will be moving forward. And I got a lot of them. Yeah. And like I said, Busta Rhymes reached out to him a couple years ago from some of his stuff on SoundCloud. And it's not like Busta purchased anything, but just for Busta Rhymes, like the real Busta Rhymes, to send you a DM and like, I'm listening to your stuff, that's pretty crazy, right? Like, and I told him if that wasn't a sign to keep going, that to show that you actually have the talent, you might not be getting paid a lot of money for your beats yet, but that doesn't mean that you won't, you know? And again, you know, it could be for a rapper, it could be for someone in R&B, it could be in a commercial, it could be in a movie, it could be someone like me that needs beats for YouTube, you know? And again, I always told them, you know, believe in yourself. You know, look what I did, you know, from something to nothing. And, you know, I tried to be an inspiration for him, and he's definitely been working really, really hard, and his beats are amazing. So we're definitely going to have that moving forward. So, but I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. Final score, Giants 34, Eagles 17. And I will be live tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific for the ALDS game number 5. Winner moves on to the ALCS to play the Blue Jays. And obviously, we know right now the Cubs are up 4-0, trying to force game 5 as well against Milwaukee. And we'll see where it goes. But Tigers with Scooball, Mariners with Kirby. I'll be live at 5 o'clock Pacific. Saturday, we're going to do the Indiana Hoosiers and the Oregon Ducks. Both are ranked, and that'll be fun. And then hopefully after we win tomorrow, we'll be in the ALCS against the Blue Jays on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to that. So great to see you pop in late, Chief. And shout out to Sarah, Reflect, and Chris for showing love on the Dono train. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do on your way out. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. Final score, Giants 34, Eagles 17. And again, a reminder, we will be live at 5 o'clock Pacific, ALDS Game 5, Tigers and Mariners. Love you guys, and I appreciate you. You guys are the best. And I got one question for you. Who you know talk sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, and I'm out. Gang.